good. I don't know. I gotta make sauce. They have the Declaration of Independence. I did not mean to vanish from the internet for 4 months. Things just sort of happened. You can probably hear I'm a little ill. If I don't film this now, it's never ever going to get filmed, so you're just gonna have to deal with me being a little bit sick. A lot has happened since the last time I saw you guys. I got some new plants. We went around the moon, and this time my dad thinks that was real. Sabrina Cella. I went to my first expo. Had a great time, but I made really creepy, like, smile eye contact with some Harold Harkness Jessamine. Yes, I probably just could have said, hello, love your cosplay, but I am far too awkward for that. There was a Gideon Nav sat in front of me, and I actually think I know who it was based on some TikTok context clues. And again, did I say anything? No. I just stared at them, probably sort of creepily. I read a shit ton of historical romance novels. Bridgerton season 4 came out. During the gap between part 1 and part 2, I was craving more. So I took a walk down to my local library and fit as many Bridgerton books as I could into my bag. I didn't steal them. And the Bridgerton books weren't really my thing. I expected that because the books are not like the show, and the aspects of the show that I like are missing from the books. The men are so whiny. They are so coercive, can't even be bothered to get the women over the line after the foreplay. Not for me. As some of you may know, I'm a bit of a 19th century dweeb. Oh, but not in like a creepy way. I like fancy dresses, repression, tea, and yearning. And there's a lot of that in there. I like Bridgerton for all those reasons. So I decided to give historical romance outside of Bridgerton a shot because I hadn't read too much of it before. And did I approach this genre exploration with any sort of well thought out plan? I sort of went on Reddit. I checked out my library's homepage. I looked at some historical romance guides created by other libraries. Use your library resources. And then once I'd established that list of authors, I selected the most readily available series from my library, and then I just started reading in the order that they were available. So you may be noticing that there are several parts of this plan that would not hold up to any sort of formal research proposal. I would be told to go back to the drawing board, but luckily, there's no such a board here. It's just me, and I say this is fine. Thankfully, historical romance series are usually part of a connected universe, so you don't have to read them in any order to enjoy them. There just might be some side characters and some little details that you're a bit confused on if you don't read them in order. As I was reading these books, something else happened. The dreaded Wuthering Heights movie came out. I do enjoy the Brontes, but I'm not against this movie because I hold the Brontes on some like sacred pedestal. I'm against it because I think it misunderstands the text in a way that makes it uninteresting. Whatever. That movie coming out, it kicked the hornet's nest that is the ever-present concern over what specifically women are reading. Because somehow that movie being boring, badly done erotica is in part the fault of the rise of smut because of book talk. Do not record your introduction when you have a 102-degree fever because you will forget to mention something very important, your thesis statement. The reason that I am likening historical romance to these arguments that go on over book talk romances is because people made very similar, if not nearly the same, arguments about historical romance in its heyday, the late 80s and early 90s. This sort of reading was treated as not really reading, not good for women, upholding the patriarchy. And I think that this is partly because the media loves to have some sort of textual boogeyman, for want of a better phrase, to rationalize our concerns over the purpose of a book. Often, that fear of books ends up coinciding with fears around gender, sexuality, race. We can say, look, women's taste in reading material is degrading the culture. And a whole lot of weight is added to that argument if you couch it in feminism. When I am making these cases for book talk romances, for, in this case, historical romance, I am not saying all things good. I am not saying all things bad. It is art. It does not need to serve a purpose. All of that stuff about romance, about reading more generally, about the Wuthering Heights movie was stewing in the back of my mind while I was reading these books. We love the void. If I roll my eyes, if I giggle and kick my feet, it is still serious. All of these books, as you will come to see, their core tenet is women's freedom. To call this sort of reading trash is just so disrespectful. It can be unserious, fun, and at times infuriating and cringe, and it can still be something that we take seriously and that we respect. There are multiple factors contributing to the current climate around books and the discussions people have around literacy. And I personally am of the opinion that it is not the fault of smut. There are 3 books in this series at the moment: the Duchess Deal, the Governess Game, the Wallflower Wager. I cannot say that one. There's supposed to be a 4th one. It has been in the making for several years, but Tessa Dare has been sick. This series came to me from my public library, 231. The girls in the Girl Meets Duke universe are all friends, so reading them not in order does quote-unquote spoil the events of the other books, but not in a way that's like crazy or anything. Book 1, which was actually book 2, The Governess Game. This was when I was still putting last names on these slides. Main characters in the Duchess Deal are Alexandra Mountbatten, Alex for short, and Chase Raynaud. Okay, the plot of this fucking book. Tessa is a timekeeper. She goes around to people's houses and sets their clocks. She's also an astronomer. One day, Tessa's in the bookshop with her friends and she runs into this man. He drops all his like children's fairy tale books. She drops all her astronomy books. They get mixed up. He accidentally takes her astronomy book with him. All of Alex's friends tease her. Oh my god, that boy in the bookshop. La la la. Alex is not of noble birth or anything. That's why she's going around setting people's clocks. She's also afraid of boats. Alex grew up on boats with her merchant father. Her mom died when she was little, and her mom was from the Philippines? And this is just me not being able to remember place names. Like she looks a little bit, as people love to say about me, ethnically ambiguous. Does not look like she does on the cover of this book. As she's going around like changing people's clocks, she goes to this house. It's the man from the bookshop. He doesn't seem to recognize her. He's like, oh my god, you're here for the interview. Fantastic. He's asking her all these questions. She doesn't really know what this has to do with clocks, but okay. He's been saying some weird shit about women. He takes her into this den, the room he pleasures women in. She gives him this big long lecture. He says, perfect. You're going to be a great governess. Alex. No, what's his name? Chase? This is the dude, bro. Take out all the things that happen in these books, plop them into new adult books, fraternity. It's exactly the same thing. Chase is the guardian to 2 young girls. I don't remember their names. Chase thinks that they might be his half-sisters. His dad was having kids left, right, and center, did not care for his mom at all. He has this other half-brother who is his lawyer. These 2 girls make Chase's life hell, and he just wants to send them off to boarding school. It's pretty clear that they just want him to love them. Always trying to loop him in to spend time with them, and he's like,
no, I can't love anybody because my father was abusive.
It's always the daddy issues. Every single time. One of these kids is really obsessed with disease. Every day, her wooden doll dies a different death, and they have to have a doll funeral. Alex's dream is just buy a cottage, find and name a comet. The amount of money that Chase has offered her, she can do that. She's like, okay, I guess I can be a governess, but oh no, I'm gonna have to live in this man's house. This man fucks. This is pretty much the whole book. Chase is really horny for Alex, which is becoming like a little bit of a problem. He's like, I can't do anything about that. She's my governess. I'm not that unprofessional. Having more success than the previous governesses, she hasn't fled. Also, at the same time, his friend is helping him build his man cave where he pleasures women. Alex is quite resentful of the fact that he can't even remember her from the bookshop. She just wants to bang that man. Alex is woken up from a nightmare. She often has nightmares about the time that her tragic backstory, the ship she grew up on, the whole crew all died on the boat, but they put her in a lifeboat, sent her off, and she was on a lifeboat for 8 days without food or water. And so she often has nightmares about being dehydrated. Anyway, she wakes up in the night, goes to get a glass of water. Chase is down there doing something, and they smooch. It's life-changing, and he's like, that can never happen again. Chase decides the best way to get Alex out of his system is he needs to bring another woman home. She's kissing his ear, saying things that are kind of weirding him out. Way to kink shame, dude. He's talking about all this shit he wants to do, and this woman mentions something with ears, and he's like,
You gross.
I'm not condoning anything. I'm just, he's no one to kink shame. I'm getting hives. Alex and the girls spot Chase bringing in this woman, and they dump a bucket of water on her head, and also Chase's head. Oh, like what? I think la balada. Alex comes up with this brilliant idea to make learning into a game. She turns the kids' room into this pirate ship. Geography and algebra and like how to sew and stuff. It's like all these practical skills. Smart. Chase comes in and is like,
This is just for fun. You're not doing a good governess job.
The two girls tie them together and then run off. So they're tied face to face. Would not be a historical romance book without a boner. They get untied. And then we get that quote that I had up where it was like, we're gonna kiss, aren't we? He's like, this can't ever happen again, and also no more pirates. Chase comes up with his own educational trip idea for them. We're gonna go to the Tower of London. I'm 99% sure that's where they went. He's like, this is where criminals go, girls. The girls go off, and Alex and Chase make out in the Tower of London. I cannot make this shit up. I think he also might take the boob out. I think I give you guys too many details. These are busty women. I think he does that. I also think he might touch her a little bit. Whatever. She's like, Chase, what if you gave me romance lessons? You get it? Because she's the governess, but like he's giving her lessons. So Chase starts to give Alex romance lessons. I can't believe they make out in the Tower of London. He says something wild about like wanting to tie her up. And I thought this book was going to get 19th century freaky, and it didn't. There's no bondage. Why am I saying that like I was disappointed? Maybe I was disappointed. I thought it was going to be like something interesting. Chase admits to Alex, yeah, he sleeps with a lot of women, but he never does anything that could create a child. Bro does no penetrative sex. He's just in it for the love of the game. Oh, this book gets points for mentioning venereal disease, although they don't really have dental dams or anything, so I don't know how good he's doing on that front. But he mentions like not wanting to be diseased and also not wanting babies, so thank you, Chase. When he's giving Alex romance lessons, there is no penis involved inside. One day, everything I say on here will come back to haunt me. Alex takes Chase to go meet her friends. This makes more sense if you've read the first book first. He's making friends with her friends. As Alex and Chase are banging, sort of falling in love. His secret brother / solicitor's like, well, why don't you just ask her to marry you? Because like you love her. And Chase is sickened by this because he cannot have a wife who he loves. Because he doesn't deserve it. Meanwhile, Alex has this like, she can fix him. She's like, I know that's a bad mentality for women to have, but I have it. And I can fix him and these kids and I can make the world better. And do astronomy. He gives her cunnilingus to completion, not his foreplay in the library. Chase decides he's going to take him out for a little surprise day again. We're not going to the Tower of London this time. We go on the river in a boat. Alex freaks out about the boat. The doll gets thrown into the water. Chase goes into the water after the doll. We're doing like every single period drama trope here. We need a wet man. He gets the doll. It's all very heroic. Don't exactly remember what happens now. They're doing the romance lessons. They're doing this fake family thing. Chase panics about it. He's being possessive with Alexandra, but he won't be emotionally available. And this is getting frustrating for her. Chase comes home one day and he says some kind of hurtful things to Alex. Stupid. Chase faints like the little drama queen he is. When I say this man's always saying the most crazy shit, I'm legitimately haunted by this line. That just pops into my head sometimes. Chase is very sick. Is he sick because he went in the water? Sick. The brother's like, hey dude, you know she's in love with you. You can't love her back. You should probably just stop banging her. He kind of tries to break up with Alexandra, I think, but they go to the British Museum. He's recovered from his illness, which was almost life-threatening. They go to the mummy room at the British Museum. And the girls are like really excited about it because they like death. They run into this guy who Alex used to change clocks for, and he says something about her being a slut. So my phone died yesterday somewhere when I was around the Egyptian Museum part of this book. Chase punches that guy in the face. They kind of get in a fight about it. They keep doing that back and forth. Him being like, I can't, and her being like, yes, you can. Giving Bridgerton season 1. The stars have aligned. She has to go to the astronomy center, get her comet. Yeah. Fastest way there is to take a boat. Alex must face her boat fears. She tells Chase about it, and he's like, sorry you've had such a hard life. I wish I could get over myself and be your husband. Useless. Make it to the astronomy center. They're all like, oh, yeah, comet, space. I don't know why I sounded like I didn't like space just then. I like space. I like dinosaurs, and I like volcanoes. On their way back, Chase and Alex start talking again, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna leave. Found my comet, gonna get my money from you for taking care of these kids for however many months it's been, and go our separate ways. We're gonna stop hooking up. Chase is like, yes, we're gonna stop hooking up. And they start making up. They're on the grass, but there's nobody there.
It's time for penetration.
Which, as we know, Chase doesn't do that. He doesn't want to give women children or venereal disease. But now it's time. Girl, Chase is like, this is amazing, I'm having a great time. And from Alex's POV, she's in a lot of pain and she's not having a good time. She has never had penetrative P&V intercourse. She does tell him, hey, I'm not having a good time. So that's something. And he changes it up to make it a little bit more enjoyable for her. She arrives from something else that's not the P&V penetration. Now, the reason I go into so much detail about the different sort of things that are leading to arrivals, I must give you the details of the data in order to make certain cases to you at the end. No pulling out. He's done with that lifestyle. After they're done, he's like, okay, I will do whatever it takes to get you to come to this inn with me. We're going to get one room and we're going to bang some more. And she's like, hell yeah, dude. They go home to discover that the kids are missing. Oh no, terrible. They look all around for these kids, cannot find them. The kids show up. Wow, what a solution to that problem. One of them, the littler one, broke her leg. Chase and Alex get into a really bad fight, possibly about this, because he's upset and she's like, see, you do love these kids, you love me, we should be a family, da-da-da. And he says like,
No, I never want to see you again. I don't love you.
Stupid. Whatever, they get in a stupid fight, she leaves. Pretty much as soon as Alex leaves, Chase realizes what he said was really bad and he must beg her for forgiveness. But he has this elaborate plan that he wants to do before he goes and begs for forgiveness. So we must wait a couple days or weeks, possibly. Alex is at her friend's house. Nicola might be her name. She's an engineer. The 4 types of women are engineer, clock astronomer, seamstress, and pets. Chase is finally ready to apologize to Alex. She's at the bookstore. She's in a different bookstore than the bookstore they met in. Don't really understand why. Kind of think for secular. It closes the loop. Rushes into the bookstore and says, I love you, Alex. I want you to marry me. Also, I know you don't remember me, but we did meet that time in a bookstore. And I remembered you. Here's the book that you dropped that time in the bookstore. And she says, oh my God, you kept it? He says, no, of course I didn't keep it. I returned it. This is a new copy. She's been kind of snooping all over his house looking for that book. He proposes to her. She accepts. Epilogue, she did get that comet. I want to say they're having a picnic or something. Everybody's having a good time. He says something kind of dirty and she's like, well, maybe I won't tell him I'm pregnant today. And that's the end of the book. Book 2, which is actually book 3, The Wallflower Wager, featuring Penelope and Gabriel. Why did I say it like Sabriel? Penny, Alex's friend, who's a vegetarian. She is a lady, and her house is full of animals. She has a goat, many cats, a dog, I think it has no back legs, a hedgehog.
Stray dogs, stray cats, stray kids. Yeah, like we have to help them.
She loves to take in a wounded, damaged creature and nurse it back to health, take care of it. I wonder what she's gonna do with the wounded man next door. She recently has acquired a parrot. The parrot flies out of her house into the neighbor's house, and somebody has just moved into that house. She still has a key to it from the previous owner, so she just breaks into the house. As she's about to get the parrot, a man comes in, naked, except he's wearing a towel, and they collide with each other. The man's like, what the hell are you doing in my house? She's like, wow, you're so hot. I'm getting my parrot. This man is Gabriel. He's not a nobleman. He has just accumulated a lot of wealth. He's going around eating the rich. I'll just tell you now, his tragic backstory, his mom sold him off for drinking money.
They're filthy junk traders. Who sold you off for drinking money?
Went to the workhouse as a kid. Next day, Penelope's aunt comes and is like, Penelope, we are sending you back to live on your family estate. You've been a single lady in the town too long. If she can become popular and get herself into a social column, then she's allowed to stay in town as a single lady. Back to Gabriel POV, looking at her through the window. She's out there with her two-legged dog and her goat.
It's really good to have a hot single lady next door.
Property value of my place, like, so high up. I'm gonna be able to sell this house no problem. I need to get Penelope to sell those animals. So he goes to Penelope and is like, hey girl, I'll make you a deal. I will help you become popular.
Toss.
If you get rid of all the animals. They become sort of friends. Literally out of nowhere. They're talking in her house about shipping off the animals, and they just start smooching. The tension has apparently reached a breaking point. It's smooch time. And then he's like, probably shouldn't have done that. After some of his failed attempts at getting her to get rid of animals, Penny and Gabriel are going to go take a little trip. They're going to go drop off the otter. On their way, they stop. Penny has brought with her her vegetarian sandwiches. Everybody in her life lies to her and tells her these are good sandwiches. Gabriel says, this is trash. Your friends are lying to you. These are bad. As they're having this fight, the otter escapes. It's headed for the river. They are like soaking wet, wading through the river, and then they start to make out in the river. Usually the Tessadair ones, they have a kiss initially. They say, no, we can't do that. And then there's a secondary kiss that gets a little further, kissing, until they hear the carriage driver like, hey guys, can't fix the carriage, it's broken. They must go to the inn. Gabriel's not very nice to Penny about her vegetarianism. When they go to the inn, he just orders a whole bunch of meat and she's like having toast. As a vegetarian, this pissed me off, not gonna lie. I don't even think I have to say as a vegetarian. I've been clocked in bars as a vegetarian. Whatever, that's besides the point, not about me. At the room with one end, I don't really get this. There's one bedroom and then an office. There's space between them. She's in the bathtub. He's writing a letter. He starts jorking it.
Peener jorked.
While thinking about her in the bathtub, while writing a letter. And then she comes in using the paper to hide that he was jorking it.
Huh?
She says, hey, I've never slept without another animal in my bed. So he says, okay, I'll sleep with you in this bed. But they're not going to do anything until they start doing stuff. I think it's grind time. And as they're doing that, she's kind of having these thoughts about like, wow, this feels really empowering. She feels like she has autonomy over her body. As soon as she started thinking these things, I was like, oh, Penelope's got some sort of like bodily violation trauma. So this is healing for her. Her friends find out that they spent the night together at an inn unsupervised except for the parrot. And her friends are freaking out. Did you do anything with Gabriel that you didn't want to do? And she's like, I didn't do anything I didn't want to do. As they're giving him this lecture, they also find out that he said her sandwiches were bad. He says, I'm just being honest with her. Oh, I forget all their names. Alex and Chase are taking the parrot. Emma and her husband are taking the cow and the goat. She's keeping the dog. I'm taking the dog.
And we're both Gemini vegetarians.
A good way to get Penny into the social column is to go to a ball. Penny has ball trauma. During her first social season, she brought her hedgehog. It was in her pocket. She was dancing with this guy. The hedgehog poked the guy. They go to the first ball. She is dressed up like a cat. Gabriel's dressed up like a knight, so nobody knows it's him. I think it's a masquerade ball. Everyone's scared of him because he's called like the Duke of Ruin. All the men have these like stupid monikers. Don't know if he's a duke or why he's a duke. And he's like, I'm Penny's date to this ball. You better be scared. And they are scared. Gabriel's like, well, you want to have dinner with me at the hotel that I own? Because like you're kind of socially overwhelmed right now. So they go up to the roof of his hotel. This whole little dinner thing. It's very 2000s rom-com. They have a little heart-to-heart, little chat. Then they have sex. Every time, dude. They have penetrative P&V sexy time on the roof as fireworks go off. I'm not joking. Does he pull out? She has a good time. She arrives once. She didn't make it into the social column exactly. It says something like, the Duke of Ruin was there with a lady. She's been doing her research on him because she's like, he can't be as bad as everyone says he is. And also, I'm begging him. She finds out that he had given money to this orphanage. So she takes him with her to go drop off all the kittens. He's like, oh no, she knows about the good deeds I do. This is terrible for my reputation as the Duke of Ruin. It's gonna be really embarrassing for me if that wasn't his name. They go up and hand out all the kittens to all the kids. He is pissed off that Penny wants to see good in him.
You could never know my struggles, Penny. You wouldn't know what it's like to be poor and starving on the streets and abused because you were a noble lady.
And he drags her the filthy streets of London to go look at where he had been sold for drinking money.
They're filthy junk traders who sold you off for drinking money.
And then they bang against the wall quite roughly in the alleyway. They're having feelings and they're not talking about their feelings. He doesn't want to be with her because she has a higher social status than he does. He doesn't want to be boy toy. This is stupid. So he wants her to dance with guys and like find a guy who's her status. I could be wrong. A little bit of time passes. Penny tells him, okay, I know you had a rough childhood, but like that doesn't mean that my childhood was perfect. Now, how do I say this? Penny's dad had a friend who would come over and give Penny like dance lessons, quote unquote. Penny was essayed as a child. The spike in stakes from all the other books to the third book is always crazy. What do you mean Alex has boat trauma, Emma has religious trauma, and Penny was diddled as a child? A little more complicated. The dad's friend's daughter is her brother's wife. That's why Penny is so desperate to not go back to the estate, because she'll probably see that guy. Also, the reason Penny brought the hedgehog with her to that ball so that a guy couldn't get close to her. The only guy she kind of likes and trusts is Gabriel, unlocking all these feelings in her that she thought she wouldn't be able to feel because of her trauma. She tells Gabriel this. She's like, don't worry, I've been really into everything we've done and I found it like really healing. I think they bang again. He wants to marry her. Don't think he's asked her. Don't really remember. Gabriel is throwing a ball, and he's throwing this ball for Penny. Sort of. Kind of. We'll see. She doesn't really know it's for her until she gets there, and all the food is vegetarian. Emma has a baby. Alex is pregnant. The friend who's an engineer is apparently engaged to this man, but they don't know who the man is. Beautiful gowns. At the ball, Penny and Gabriel are going to dance. When Penny's brother shows up with the guy, Gabriel can tell something's wrong with Penny when she sees this man. He's like, oh, that's the guy. He's going to duel this man. Penny's like, don't do that because you are going to get arrested and or die. He says, I don't care what you think. I'm going to go duel this man. Stupid. She's like, why can't anybody just listen to me or like respect what I want? Penny ends up telling the friends about what happened to her as a kid. Gabriel's never dueled anybody. The other guy's really good at shooting. Useless. On the dueling field, about to duel, when Penny comes rushing in, Penny fills in the brother on what this guy did to her when she was a kid, confronts him. She has made some sort of deal with the aunt. They've put him under house arrest and he's not allowed to see his grandkids. He gets no money. I think they should have shot him. Penny tells the brother, if you want to be associated with this man, you're not going to see me ever again. I'm cutting ties with you. And he says, he's my father-in-law. I'm picking this guy. And Penny says, great, then I'm never going to see you again. Gabriel at some point has had some realizations that he probably shouldn't have gone against Penny's wishes, respect her autonomy. They're going to get married. They love each other. Great. Oh, the dog likes Gabriel now. The dog didn't like him before. He likes the dog likes him, the dog with 2 legs. I like gloves, and I forgot to wear them. I do find them incredibly overstimulating, so that's probably why I've been forgetting to wear them. The brother shows up at the wedding and is like, Penny, I realized the error of my ways. I should have chose you over the pedo. I'm sorry. I want to walk you down the aisle. Penny accepts the apology, but she says, you know what? I don't want you to walk me down the aisle, actually. She says, I can walk myself down the aisle. Maybe Gabriel walks her down the aisle. I don't remember. They get married. Yay. Epilogue. They have 2 kids. Everyone's happy. The parrot is still swearing. Book 3, which is actually book 1, The Duchess Deal, featuring Emma Gladstone and the Duke of Ashbury, and they call him Ash. That's why I couldn't remember his name, because they don't ever use his first name. Ash was injured in war. I think the Napoleonic War. He got blown up, and half his face is disfigured phantom style. Right? And ever since then, he's been really angry and bitter about life. Doesn't have any friends. His engagement got called off. He's sad. He's the Phantom of the Opera. Emma is a seamstress. Her dad was a priest, but she left home when she was a teenager. At the moment, she has no friends. This book is dedicated to Tessa Dare's father. I personally think that's hella weird. This book is from my dad, who was also okay, I'm Catholic, so it's weird to me when priests have kids legitimately. What's the kind of priest that can have kids? Ash is a POV, angry doing business.
I don't feel anything emotionally except for rage.
Emma bursts through the door in a wedding dress,
I just want to be married again.
which Ash thinks is super ugly and disgusting. She made it for his fiance because he was supposed to get married. And she's like, you have to pay me for this dress. Your fiance didn't pay me for it. I spent so long making it. So many hours of my eyesight went into this. Give me money. And then he says, you know what? His business associate was just in here telling him that he had to get married to secure the line. If Ash doesn't have a son and something happens to Ash, he almost did. He almost died via explosion. Then that evil cousin is gonna become the Duke, and he can't have that because Ash's father was really great. His daddy issues, but in like the opposite direction.
You're all without fathers, all right?
I love my dad.
Sees this beautiful woman waltz in a wedding dress, and she seems to have a lot of gumption. I could pay you for that dress, or you could marry me.
I'm not in a relationship or anything. I could have a kid. I mean, if I met the right lady, and if she was just standing right in front of me.
Emma says, what the hell? That's kind of weird. She leaves. I think I wrote that plot pretty well, actually. Emma's at seamstress work. A woman comes in. The woman's pregnant. Emma's trying to hide the fact that this woman's pregnant. And Emma's thinking in her head, if I had like money and power, I could help women like this. Ash comes in late after the shop is closed and makes this case again. And she said, oh, I thought you were joking. Ash is telling her, you would only need to stick around with me in the Duke estate until you got pregnant. I have this lovely country home and you could stay there forever and we'd never have to see each other again. I only need one boy out of you. Isn't this better than being a seamstress and losing your eyesight and your fingers? She says, okay, if you're serious about this, sure, I'll marry you. But I have to bring my cat with me. Emma doesn't have a cat. She finds a random street cat. They get married. The feral cat that Emma brought, that she called Trousers, is running around the Duke house. The butler, to me, in my head, the butler's gay, but I don't know if that was ever actually said. But in my head, the butler's gay and Muslim. The butler mentions this to Emma, and so does some other household staff. They're like, hell yeah, you're here now, Emma. You can Beauty and the Beast style bring joy to this man's life, and then he'll treat us all so much better. This is just Beauty and the Beast, but like with a breeding kink.
Payless old as time.
Ash was very specific about how it had to happen. Don't worry, I'm not gonna do anything crazy to you. Also, don't worry, you won't have to look at me at all.
Because I know I'm disgusting.
So what's gonna happen is you're gonna lie on the bed in the dark. I'll come in, do the deed, and then I'll leave. And she is a little disappointed about that. Because in Emma's POV, damn, he's kind of hot. Having attracted feelings to him. He's attracted to Emma, but he's disgusted by himself because he's ugly on the inside and outside. Okay, it's time to consummate the marriage. He comes in. This is so funny. He starts touching her, and she vocalizes and he freaks out and leaves. He thinks that he's hurt her, and Emma's like, oh damn. Ash decides Emma needs friends. He introduces her to his friend he hasn't seen in a long time, Lady Penny. I think Alex is also their friend at this point, maybe. So they're little friends. Ash and Emma try again to have sex, and again it's foiled. Ash realizes the cat's there, and the cat attacks him while he's naked. Okay. Sometimes when Emma's looking at Ash, she's having thoughts of like, this is really immoral, the things that I want to do or the things that I want done to me. Keep that in mind. Ash and Emma finally penetrative P&V bang. They both have a really good time. There's no pulling out because they're not interested in that in this book.
Excuse me, sir. We were just wondering, any particular reason why you're here?
They've discovered they're sexually compatible, but he leaves immediately afterwards. And also, it was dark. She can't see him naked or at all. It would be disgusting to her and she'd vom. So now they're banging on the reg. Gotta make that baby. Emma's kind of bored. There's not a lot to do. She's used to being a seamstress. So she's been like, hey, can I sew all my own clothes? And he's like, no, you can't. You're a duchess now. You can't have hobbies. This is my least favorite man. I don't like this guy. Stupid. No, don't do that.
No.
At night, Ash goes on these walks around London, beats up criminals. Newspapers have started publishing that there's this scary guy who's terrorizing the streets of London at night.
Vigilantes don't have bedtimes.
Whatever. They bang a lot more. It gets a little dommy in a way Emma really likes. I know how this comes up. He tries to touch her feet and she's missing a toe because she got kicked out of her house by her father and she walked all the way from her little town to London. So she got frostbite, lost her toe. And she explains to Ash why she got kicked out. Okay. So you know that time we banged for the first time? Actually, I wasn't a virgin. So when I was younger, I fell in love with this guy, let him hit it. My dad found out and he banished me. And Ash is like, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't tell me about this. And Emma's worried that he's mad that he didn't tell her that she wasn't a virgin. He's like, no, you should have told me that you had this terrible father because I would have made him pay for this. She's like, don't do that. I'm over it. He hasn't super gotten over it because she does have this mindset of impurity. Gonna be so for real. When she was talking about this, that Catholic part of me came out and I was like,
Yeah, you deserve that, you whore.
really gotta fight that Catholic trauma part of the brain. Emma's also like a little freaky with it. Put a blindfold on, do it in a closet. She likes the things that they do. No feelings. Never gonna love you. Trying to get a baby. The catalyst for this whole situation, his failed engagement. They were engaged when he was hot and then he got in the war and other stuff and then she broke it off with him. And him and that fiance, don't remember her name, they were having sexy time and she like threw up afterwards. Which is why he insists on doing sexy time in the dark with Emma. Emma spells it out for him at some point that she actually finds him really attractive, and then they have sexy time with the lights on. After Emma tells Ash about what her dad did, instead of going out to London and terrorizing the street, Ash goes to the town and terrorizes her father.
I am the devil and I'm gonna drag you to hell.
Scares the shit out of Emma's dad and then leaves through the window. He's very dramatic, in case you haven't got that already. Ash and Emma go to look at the cottage. She's scoping it out for the lady who is pregnant, who she's trying to help. And she's like, oh, like, great. Like, this is so nice. Make me and you can raise this kid. It'll be great. He's like, no, you're going to have the kid and you're going to raise it. I'm not going to have anything to do with him. Ash explains that because he's ugly and disfigured, he's going to scare the hell out of their baby and he doesn't want anything to do with them. You vain idiot. So stuff happens. They keep banging. There's 1 week where Emma sends a note saying that she's ill and going to stay in her room. And part of the deal was Ash goes to her room and bangs her every night except when she has her period.
What if she wants to bang when she has her period?
He's not with it like that, so he doesn't visit her for that week that she's indisposed. Ash and Emma decide to go out. She's got this beautiful dress that he got made for her. It's red.
Like the harlot that she is.
And they're going to go to the opera. I got so phantom brained. They did not go to the opera. They saw Shakespeare. He saw Henry V. Ash has this weird thing where he won't swear. He only swears in Shakespeare swears. She has really wanted to go out to all of these social events and he hasn't let her. She is very visible where they're sitting, but nobody can see him. He leaves to go get the carriage because they're gonna be. And then this woman comes, sits next to Emma and starts talking to her. It's the ex-fiance. And the ex-fiance says a bunch of stuff to make Emma really insecure. And Ash comes in at some point and is like, what did you say to her? And he confronts this lady for making him so insecure. Ash goes after Emma. In the rain, Emma faints. Ash takes her to the inn. Take a shot every time we go to the inn. And then eventually this kid comes in. As he was going through London, this kid started following him around. He's essentially his Robin. Kid does something to distract everyone so that Ash and Emma can leave. I'm really fuzzy on the ending details of this book. They get into some more fights. fights about how he thinks he's unlovable and she thinks that he is lovable. Emma really needs to go to a social thing because that's the only way to get an introduction to the girl who's pregnant's family so that she can invite the girl to go to the cottage with her. Ash, I really need to go to this ball. The ball is being hosted by the ex-fiance. Ash is like, absolutely not, I'm not taking you.
No!
And she gets mad at him, he gets mad at her. He finds out that the reason she wants to go is because she wants to help this pregnant girl. This man has the nerve to be mad at her. Okay. She's like, frick it, I'm going to help this girl. Ash realizes the error of his ways. He's gonna go after Emma. He loves Emma. I've been silly. He goes out and immediately gets kidnapped. Useless. Due to all of the crazy shit that his midnight Batman persona has been doing. He has a ransom. He gets put in jail. When I say this is barely an inconvenience, the friends, Penny, Alex, Nicola, get Ash out of prison. I think also the butler might be there. Emma is inviting that girl who's pregnant to her house. And the girl who's pregnant's dad is like, oh, we don't really know you. Also, where's your husband? And then the girl freaks out and just tells her dad she's pregnant. And Emma's like, wow, I wish I had the kind of dad who would accept me if I was pregnant out of wedlock.
No.
The ex-fiance and Emma kind of make up, I think. Maybe. Ash comes in, his first big appearance. He's not hiding in the shadow, he's here. I think also it might be known then that he's the Batman. They love each other. They go home together. Emma announces she's been pregnant for a while. He's like, what do you mean? I thought you had your period the other week. She says, no, I just had the flu. He's gonna be an active participant in raising his child. Bare minimum, because we've all learned that everyone deserves love. There is an epilogue. What's the epilogue? I think it's Christmas and she has lingerie. If I made that up, that's going to be a weird thing to make up, but one of these epilogues involves lingerie and one of these epilogues involves Christmas. Any material that you can think of has at some point been used as a writing support. Clay, wax, wood, paper. We usually think of it as tree pulp, but it's technically any writing support made of a mushed up fibrous material. You can make paper out of like linen. I know you're like, Clea, you read a bunch of historical romance novels. Why are you defining paper for us? Paper was readily available in England before a lot of printing technologies. People just chose not to use paper as the primary writing support for many years due to, I kid you not, a deep distrust of paper. Parchment shows signs of age much slower than paper does. It's much more durable, but it's never as simple as material because this distrust largely stems from the fact that paper was used in Arabic countries. Paper was produced by Jews. The people who are writing in European countries, largely Catholics. So you have all of these Catholic religious leaders saying, don't use paper. Paper's untrustworthy. Parchment was the writing surface of choice for medieval manuscripts. It was linked to prestige, to longevity, to God. In many 14th and 15th century texts, the book is conceptualized as the body of Christ. The very writing surface itself is made from skin. They are allegorically alive, a way to reckon with and relate to the book in an understandable, intimate, and spiritual way. By book, I mean printed things. I don't just mean like a novel. There was also a distrust around writing itself. For example, the Domesday Book was instituted by William the Conqueror. In it, officials surveyed and audited much of the land in England. This title, Domesday Book, came into use in the 12th century because it was seen as a judgment to be written down. Writing down people's names and their worth was sinister. Recording oral memory made it true, a truth that should be reserved for God. Even at this early stage in book production, we can see the cultural narrative around what books mean. Writing isn't just a means of communication or knowledge transfer. As printing technologies evolved, so did attitudes towards the book, but distrust remained. Johannes Gutenberg invented the movable type printing press in 1440. This was a hand-operated press, facilitating the mass printing of texts. How'd you make so many perfect copies of the Bible? That's like demonic. Scribes were being pushed further away from the manufacture of books. Writing was becoming further removed from God. Who was using these machines to print words? How can we trust those words? What about misinformation? How do we know it's real? People are now using these arguments about the panic that arose during the creation of the printing press to prop up OpenAI as just like another technological scare, which, no, I'm personally of the opinion that yes, there is a bit of that technological backlash happening, but I don't think you can make that argument because the printing press wasn't doing mass theft and privacy violation. Just no, that's not how that works. We don't need to get into me shitting on generative AI.
Fuck AI. Fuck it so hard.
The industrial printing press came about during the Industrial Revolution. Never would have guessed that based on the name, and it greatly increased the capacity of printing. Print was steadily becoming more and more available to a mass, growingly literate audience. When you get an increase in the capacity of printing, you're going to get an increase in the variety of texts being printed, costs of those texts, the quality of those texts. There's serialized fiction in newspapers and magazines. You get stuff like the Penny Dreadful. Penny Dreadfuls were usually gothic stories, detective stories, were very short, serialized works of fiction. They only cost a penny, so it's cheap, and you can read a whole bunch of them. And of course, this sparked a huge moral panic in the 1880s because all these people are reading these lurid stories of murder and dastardly deeds. So there's a rise in crime in Victorian England. Obviously, it's because of the Penny Dreadfuls, not food insecurity. It could never be that. Without doing a whole history on 19th century gender politics, there's also so much concern over what women are reading.
And of course, we must improve our mind by extensive reading.
What women shouldn't be reading.
A tumult of emotion stirred in the bosom of Adeline, and fear gripped her heart, that at any moment ruffians would fly upon the carriage and return her to the ignominy of her captive state.
Those cheap romances, those novels. Jane Austen loved to make a joke about women reading novels.
I think we have done enough reading for today.
In an op-talk from 2014 in the New York Times titled "When Novels Were Bad for You," a weirdly topical article, Anna North provides an overview of fears around reading in the 19th century. North quotes Professor Barbara M. Benedict, who says, "As in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, our contemporary anxieties about reading reflect a distrust of the individual being able to differentiate good from bad material, or using the information that they absorb productively, constructively, and safely." So why am I giving you a sort of all over the place crash course in medieval book culture and 19th century criticism in a video about historical romance? People are already primed to feel some type of complicated way about print, even before we introduce an entire genre that centers on kissing. The only Courtney Milan series that was available from my public library was the Wedgeford Trials. I did no research for most of these people so that I could form my own thoughts before sort of branching out and learning things. I have since learned that this is not one of Courtney Milan's more popular series. I found a Reddit thread that was mostly people who did not finish the books, did not like them, said it was Courtney Milan's weaker series. I'll let you know what I think. Actually, I'll let you know what I think now. I loved this. I loved this series. Courtney Milan, you have a new fan. I might have subscribed to Courtney Milan's newsletter. It's about tea. Oh, oolong mint. And that takes talent. The Wedgeford Trials consist of the Duke Who Didn't, the Marquis Who Mustn't, and the Earl Who Isn't. This is the only series that came to me in order. So I read it 1, 2, 3. However, I was so desperate for 3. It was going to be 3 weeks wait. I bought 3. I don't regret it. Book 1, which is book 1, The Duke Who Didn't. Our main characters are Chloe Fong and Jeremy Wentworth. The Wedgeford trial books are set in England. They take place in a town called Wedgeford. And this town has a large Asian population. It is mostly people of Asian descent. And the rule of this town is you cannot ask about somebody's past. That's none of your business. Okay? So, I don't really know what the trials are. They sort of explain it. But they do some kind of thing every year where people come to the town to compete in this, like, it seems like capture the flag. Chloe Fong lives with her dad, who is definitely her dad. Her mom died. Chloe loves a list. Chloe's an organized girl. Jeremy is secretly a duke. Jeremy shows up to the Wedgeford Trials every year. Started coming when he was really little, and he stays for about 5 days out of the year. But 3 years ago, Jeremy stopped coming to the Wedgeford Trials. Coincidentally, 3 years ago, Chloe and Jeremy almost kissed. Because Chloe and Jeremy have a little thing going on. They'd be like almost holding hands. Now, when I say Jeremy Wentworth is my kind of guy, I feel a little bit of shame in admitting this. Jeremy Wentworth has the Carden quality that I love in a fictional man. Jeremy Wentworth loves sarcasm, thinks a lot of himself. There's a joke in another book, like Jeremy's not lifting the furniture. Jeremy's Jeremy, and I love him. I'm starting to think you can't read the print on the slides, which would be really unfortunate. The plot of this book. Chloe and her dad are making sauce. They need a name for this sauce. The reason they're making sauce is because many years ago, Chloe's father came from China, and these two white men were like, great, we're employing you, make this sauce for us, and we'll pay you a bunch of money. Dad made the sauce, and then they were like, frick you, this is too Chinese, no one will like it. Goodbye, no money. Lo and behold, the two white guys just stole his sauce, and it's all over England. Everyone eats this sauce. So Chloe's father wants revenge on the sauce company by making a better sauce. Sauce revenge is the external conflict. Girl, I was delighted. They're at the point in the sauce revenge scheme. The most important thing right now is to name the sauce, because the trials are coming up. They're going to sell a bunch of sauce at the trials, word of mouth. People start buying the sauce. We build the sauce empire, and then we take down the other sauce company. Jeremy rolls up to Wedgeford and says, hey, Chloe, I'm back. And I need to send my aunt a list of the qualities that my wife will possess, because it's time for me to get married. Chloe, I need you to make me a list of all of your qualities, because that's what I want in a wife. And this is Jeremy's brilliant plan to get Chloe to marry him. Get Chloe to make a list where the only possible person who Jeremy could marry is Chloe. Chloe insists she is making this list for Jeremy for some other woman. It is one of those frustrating cases where Chloe's like, Jeremy couldn't possibly like me. Jeremy left for 3 years. And also, Jeremy's really rich. That's not a secret. Everyone gets a Wedgeford trial nickname. The trials, I can't express to you enough how little the trial part matters to these books. Sometimes I take things really literally. It just occurred to me that the Wedgeford Trials might have a double meaning, like Wedgeford Trials as in the game, and Wedgeford Trials as in they're going through trials of love in Wedgeford. But everyone who competes in these trials, for whatever reason, gets a nickname. And Jeremy's nickname is Posh Jim. And whenever people go up to Jeremy, when he arrives in town, they complain about the stupid Duke. Because the Duke owns Wedgeford. All of those people are supposed to be paying rent to the Duke, and that's Jeremy. Every time someone comes up to Jeremy, fuck the Duke. Jeremy's like, yeah, fuck that guy.
Ugh, I hate people that work at the bank. Shh, I work at the bank.
Jeremy gets looped into making sauce. Jeremy's like, hey, Chloe, you making that list for me? Who's gonna be my wife? And Chloe's like, I don't know, I gotta make sauce. Chloe is a little bit externally cold, exacting, demanding. She doesn't think she'd make a very good wife, specifically to Jeremy, because of these qualities. And in order to function, as I said, Chloe loves a list. She makes a list every single day of everything she has to do. Chloe's perfect day would be a completely checked off list that went perfectly. And that never happens to her. Things are always happening. People are always asking her to do things. And she can't really function without the organization. I love this combo. Outwardly cold, exacting, by the books woman, and a guy who's just obsessed with her, but is like kind of an idiot. I love a little guy who thinks that nobody knows he's the Duke the whole time, thinks he's getting away with it. I love a guy who will not just say, hey, woman I like, do you want to marry me? Instead, he's like, hey, woman I like, make me a list of your characteristics. At some point, Chloe comes to Jeremy and says, hey, Jeremy, like, what if we did kiss? You have all this experience because you're always talking about it. What if you did kiss me? What if you, like, show me all the ways of love because I'm not going to get married? And, like, you might as well because we're friends. I don't want to be completely despoiled, she said, but I'm going to be very busy for the next decade or so, and I should like to be kissed at least once. You are ideal for this endeavor. You will disappear in a few days. You know what you're doing. You are unlikely to develop unseemly emotions that will entangle me into a relationship that will ruin my business. Chloe, he said again, it's your decision, but please, please never kiss a man who doesn't think you deserve his effort. Ladies, take notes. Jeremy did kiss Chloe as Chloe asked. They had a smooch. It was very nice. Chloe's best friend is Naomi. Naomi works at the inn with her aunt and her mom. Naomi requests that if Chloe does perchance do more than kissing with Jeremy, that she fill Naomi in. And isn't that right, ladies? This none of your business what's in my camera roll. Jeremy's hesitance to ask Chloe to marry him comes from the fact he thinks he's not good enough for Chloe, and Chloe thinks she's not good enough for Jeremy. Chloe knows Jeremy's a Duke. Everybody knows Jeremy's a Duke. It's revealed at the end. It's very funny. There's also some very funny bits. Chloe's dad, every time Jeremy comes over, he will feed Jeremy, but he is spiking his food with really spicy things. So he is torturing Jeremy. The banter's really nice. They name the sauce Wedgeford Brown. Sure, why not? Great. Chloe's dad has been working so hard on the sauce. It's made his arthritis really bad. Chloe wants him to work less hard, and Chloe wants to go get the arthritis medication. But the trials are like tomorrow. Gonna mess up the list. There's not a lot of time. Jeremy, who is around, is like, okay, well, what if, like, I got this guy. He won't say it's his footman. I have a horse, and I can get us there and back and have all this tent stuff set up for our stall at the Wedgeford Trials where we sell bao and sauce. I can get all that done and help you. The internal conflict of these books are really nice, too. Chloe doesn't think that the way she is, she's quite, as I said, rigid, and that makes her think her mom would have been disappointed in her. At some point, it is revealed to us Chloe's dad's not her dad. Chloe's dad is her uncle. Both Chloe's parents are dead. And also, Chloe's uncle explains, Chloe, you are perfect the way you are. Your mom would have loved you. Lovely, we've wrapped up that little bit of internal conflict. Okay, the romantic plot, though. Chloe and Jeremy go to the town to get the arthritis medication. But on the way, they have to ride the horse together. There's not two horses. The horse bucks them off, so they have to stop at the inn, get their clothes cleaned, and have a little break. And as they're heading to the inn, Chloe's like, well, what if there's only one room? Jeremy says, don't worry, there won't be one room. So many people are coming for the trials, there's going to be lots of rooms. Chloe says, if there's one room, like, I want to know what you know, Jeremy. If there's one room, we're going to bang. They go to the inn, there's some racially charged interactions, there's more than one room. Chloe tells the innkeeper, there's only one room.
Let's go!
When it comes down to the act, we learn that, in fact, Jeremy is not as experienced as Jeremy has pretended to be. Jeremy, in fact, is a virgin. We have a two virgins situation. Chloe's disappointed that Jeremy has never had sex, and Jeremy's like, well, I'm in love with you. Courtney Milan knows how to write a spicy scene. Still in character for both of them. Like when the guy's a little shy with it. He wants to be bossed around a little. There are some measures taken to avoid potential consequences. Pulling out is not protection, but there's pulling out, which is more than there is in a lot of these books. So thank you, Jeremy. And I'm happy to say, cunnilingus to completion. 2 female orgasms. So that gets it points, because a lot of these only have one for some reason. Return to Wedgeford for the trials. Jeremy this whole time is really torn up. Chloe's the only woman I could ever marry, and I love Chloe, but I cannot ask her to be a duchess because that's like unfair to Chloe, and she doesn't know what's involved in it, and I'm a terrible person. And Chloe, meanwhile, knows Jeremy's a duke, But Jeremy doesn't know that. Chloe thinks Jeremy regrets sleeping with her. Not the case. Jeremy is so obsessed with Chloe. Simp! The trials happen. They sell out of the sauce. It's wonderful. Also, I should probably mention here, there is a 13-year-old boy, little white boy running around the trials who wants Andrew to show him the ropes of the trials. He's obsessed with Andrew. This is important for later, okay? Another really lovely moment. Chloe's overwhelmed. And Jeremy says, not if you need me to help. He knows she can't, like, verbally ask. She's overstimulated. Yes. Being seen is the love language in a lot of these books. Jeremy asks Chloe to marry him. It's very cute. Obviously, she says yes. Jeremy's aunt arrives. Now, Jeremy's aunt is white. Jeremy's aunt is also the one who's always like, Jeremy, you are not good enough to be a duke. The reason Jeremy didn't return for 3 years to the Wedgeford Trials was because the last thing Chloe said to him, and he was going to kiss her, and she was like, Jeremy, I can't have you kiss me. I need you to be serious. As established, Jeremy is a goofy little guy. Jeremy took this as Chloe did not want him as he was. She wanted him to be a serious guy. Of course, Chloe meant, I need you to be serious about us, about this relationship. I can't have you just kissing me willy-nilly because I love you. He went to Eton, he did some classics, did really well, and they said you must be cheating. And then he tried Parliament, but like nobody liked him unless he was silly goofy. Jeremy decided to go to China. He decided to go visit his mom and his grandma. Talked about Chloe. And they told him some stuff and he learned some things and he had a great time, and then he came back and he was like, yeah, now I'm ready. And the aunt says, Jeremy, you cannot marry Chloe. She is just some girl from this town. Jeremy says, well, they're going to have a sauce commercial enterprise. And also, Chloe's not marrying into my family. I'm marrying into Chloe's family. Chloe's going to be a duchess, but Chloe's not going to be your everyday duchess. Chloe's going to do whatever she wants because she's Chloe. And Jeremy will just worship the ground she walks on, as he should. Another win for these books, amongst all the ones that I read, was that these books do not end in pregnancy. These books do have epilogue children, but nobody's pregnant at the end of the book. They're epilogues and things that are like further in the future. This book has 2 epilogues, and the first epilogue is just them, like they've been married. They don't live in like the Duke estate. Jeremy rents that out. Also, Jeremy is like, Wedgeford is no longer his property. I give it to the people. Yes, eat the rich, but not Jeremy. And he's like, I'm just gonna live in this sort of large house in town with my wife. So my mom and her dad and everybody lives in the house with us, and it's great. That's the first epilogue. The second epilogue is the sauce revenge epilogue. Jeremy, Chloe, their 2 kids, and the dad go for like high tea somewhere, and it's really shitty. It's not even good tea and it's not even good food. And they get to like show up the 2 guys who stole the sauce from the dad. And a book that ends in sauce revenge is a good book. Jeremy is a girl dad. He's taking care of those kids while Chloe checks off revenge off of her list. Excellent! I loved it. I had such a good time. Book 2, which is actually book 2, The Marquis Who Mustn't. I have recorded this book 4 times, and every time there is something wrong. And I've decided to just do it off the top of my head. So this book, featuring Naomi Kwa and Lee Ju-kai. Really hope I said that right. You may remember Naomi from the first book. Naomi is Chloe's best friend. Naomi is not conventionally attractive. This book makes it very clear. Naomi's ambition. She wants to take ambulance lessons. She wants to be a first aid responder, so when things go wrong in the Wedgeford Trials, she can help. Naomi's parents do not want her to take ambulance lessons because she would have to take co-ed ambulance classes as she is Asian. She's pretty young when she starts asking for this, so they're like, no. This year, I'm just not gonna ask if I can register an ambulance lessons. I'm just gonna go to town and do that. Her father hears that she's going to town, and he says, oh, great. Naomi's going to town for something. We don't know what. Naomi, can you please pick up a Chinese man? Naomi's like, sure, whatever. Okay. Goes to town. She sees a Chinese man coming out of a shop, and she says, great. The Chinese man I was supposed to pick up found you. I need to go do something. Come with me. Problem. The clerks at the registration office are like, you cannot register an ambulance license because you're an unmarried woman. We can't have you doing that. You need your father's permission. Naomi's like, oh, okay, well, this man right here is my fiance and he gives me permission. Because Naomi thinks this Chinese man He can't speak English. The Chinese man says, yeah, I'm Naomi Quad's fiance, and I give her permission. She's a little bit shook up. Oh no, who is this man? This man is not the Chinese man she was sent to pick up. This man is Kai. Kai just happened to be coming out of a store. He is on his way to Wedgeford. It's true. He went along with this for several kind of complicated reasons. One being, Naomi doesn't know this, but as children, Kai and Naomi were engaged. Like, their parents made an agreement that they would get married as adults. So like technically they are engaged. And he kind of thought Naomi knew this, and then he figures out she did not know this, and then he doesn't tell her. It's kind of a non-issue, whatever. Kai's father was a notorious swindler. He came to town however many years ago and got a bunch of money from everyone in the town because he told them he could make this really expensive, like, pretty form of pottery called Jianzhan. Someone please correct me in the comments. Yeah, he couldn't do that. He just took all their money and then left. He also left his 5-year-old child there, like in the house by himself. So then all the townsfolk, pitchforks, went to the house where the little 5-year-old Kai is and demanded their money. The town had to take care of Kai for like 6 months because he's 5 and his dad's gone. And he feels a lot of guilt about this because he couldn't pay them for any of the food he was eating or anything. My guy. So him and Naomi, as they're walking back to town together, you know, maybe we can just pretend to be fiancés. Don't really remember the details of this arrangement, but it's good for Naomi and it's good for Kai, so we're gonna do it. Obviously, her parents are like, no, no, you are not engaged to this man. They're not happy with it because everyone distrusts Kai because of what his father did. Kai has brought with him a bunch of trunks of dirt and a big kiln, and he sets up at his old house and he's making pottery. This is the pottery book. As Kai and Naomi are fake dating, they kind of start to catch real feelings because although Naomi insists that she is ugly, and Kai's like not super conventionally attractive, he's a little bit rugged, they're both kind of into each other. As part of their fake dating, she goes to his house, they have conversations outside, they're not unsupervised, and she just watches him spin pottery, but it's very like careless whisper playing, his hair like blowing in the wind, and he's making phallic objects with his hands.
What are you making?
A vase.
That's Naomi's vision. Naomi's parents run the inn. Naomi's mom is Japanese, and her mom's sister is Andrew's mom. Andrew and Naomi are cousins. This is important for later. Naomi's parents, she thinks that they don't love each other, and this has caused her a lot of distress. Naomi's been proposed to a couple times by men, but the way they would propose to her was like, oh, you're not going to get a better offer, or like, oh, you're going to be unhappy like your mom and just marry some guy, you might as well marry me. So her whole life, Naomi has had a lot of insecurities, and also she doesn't want to be like her mom. That's happening. Kai's really torn up about everything that his dad did to this town. Like, he sees the shitty pottery that his dad gave to people, and he's so appalled that he starts making everyone like really beautiful pottery and sneaking it into their houses. Kai and Naomi in their fake dating. Every day, Kai comes to the inn and Naomi brings him food. And he always pays for it, even though she's like, you don't have to pay for it. We're engaged. But Naomi has avoided eating in front of Kai because everyone teases Naomi about how she eats. She's very clumsy. She drops a lot of stuff. And the minute that she sits down next to Kai and starts eating, and Andrew's teasing her, Kai's like, of course you're dropping stuff. You're using the wrong kind of bowls. You need little bowls for your little hands. You're eating the wrong kind of food in the wrong kind of bowl, and you're too small. Kai shows up to the inn a few days later with crates and crates full of dishware that he has made the inn to replace their Western dishes. And he has a set just for Naomi, and it's this beautiful prismatic black that like shimmers. Black is Naomi's favorite color. Oh my god, how did he know that? And also, no one ever gets her anything black. It's just like Naomi because it seems plain on the outside, but it has hidden depths. And at this point, I'm just like, fuck it. Pottery Riz. This whole time, Naomi's parents and her aunt have been like not really trusting this man. He's up to something. And Naomi's like, you don't get it, Mom. Even though he's my fake fiance. Runs off to go thank Kai for the dishes because he just kind of dropped it off and dipped. It's raining out. She gets soaked. They dart into Mr. Bai's house, I think. And then he hides in the pantry to give them alone time. And they kiss. It's all damp and passionate. Next time Naomi's home, Naomi and her mom have a little heart-to-heart, where Naomi learns that her parents got married on a ship. I think on the way to rescue her aunt from a marriage to an evil nobleman. They slept together. And they both realized that that's not really their thing. They did get Naomi out of that, but her parents are both some flavor of asexual. And it just so happened that like they found another person who understood it. And they actually do love and care about each other. It's just in a way that Naomi didn't perceive as like love, but they do have this like real partnership and bond. Okay, so now we've settled that. Naomi is slowly starting to learn to love herself for who she is. She's doing great in ambulance class. Hot, fake boyfriend who makes her pottery. Chloe makes some comments about Naomi and Kai's relationship, and Chloe tells Naomi that she can hook her up with condoms. And I love this so much because up until this point in my historical romance journey, I was like, do the historical romance novelists not know protection like was a thing? Because condoms came into use a lot earlier than people think. And before that, sheepskin condoms, sponges and shields and all kinds of things. Like people weren't just raw dogging all the time. And I really like the condom representation in this book. It made me very excited. Jeremy and Chloe are being safe. One night, they're all in the inn having a good time when Kai's father comes in and is like, Kai, I knew you could do it. You could swindle all these people. Starts saying that he's in on something and tells Naomi that Kai and Naomi have been engaged as children and that's the only reason why Kai is with her now, because she's like so ugly and no one would want her. And here we get one of my favorite things. Naomi stands up in front of Kai for both herself and Kai and her family and pretty much tells this man to get the fuck out. I liked that. I like this woman. And the whole town is like,
you can't trick us again. Kai's a good guy. Get the fuck out, loser.
So Kai's father leaves. Naomi goes to Kai's house to watch him spin pottery. And he gives her cunnilingus to completion, not as foreplay against the kiln. I believe she reciprocates in some way. They have a good time. Now, at this point, you might be like, hey, are you fake engaged? Kai is the one who's being like, no, I can't marry you. I think I'm skipping a lot of stuff that happens because I can't remember. And it's because of all this guilt Kai has over what his father did. He's like, I was complicit in that. Dude, you were 5 years old. He admits to Naomi that he does have a scheme. And once he does it, he's going to have to leave the town forever. Naomi is like, oh shit, I like this man. He's doing deeds. But then Naomi thinks about it and she's like, you know what? I have a brain. Kai has never done anything to indicate he's a bad dude. He's making everyone pottery. Cunnilingus to completion, not as foreplay against the kiln. Seems like a decent guy. He must be doing something not evil. This is a good time to sneak in. Kai has these rules to lying. I think his father taught them to him. There's 8 of them. One of the rules to lying is only the people in the lie can know the details of the lie. So that's why he won't tell Naomi what he's doing. But it has something to do with pottery. Kai's like, I can't marry you, Naomi, but I really like you, obviously. I would love to bang you, but I can't bang you because I don't want to leave you with anything. You know what I'm saying? And Naomi's like, hey, well, I really like you. I've never really felt like this about anybody, and I don't think I'll feel this way about anybody again. I know we can't get married. But Chloe knows a guy. So they make a plan. Naomi goes to Kai's house in the night. He's leaving like the next day. They get freaky with it. Naomi arrives twice. It is very steamy, but also very intimate. Kai gets up. He just sits there watching her sleep. In the morning, Kai's like, Naomi, I'm not gonna leave. Pussy so good he gave up his revenge scheme. His internal conflict drags on far too long. So much happens before he realizes that he deserves love and like he doesn't need to be redeemed. So many other things happen before he comes to this realization, and it's pussy that does it. Whatever. Here we learn Kai's plan. Okay, Kai's plan is he spent a couple years in Japan. He can actually make the pottery that his dad was lying about being able to make. He tells her, I was going to make this teacup. I have all of these documents forged to say that this teacup is a historical artifact, and I was going to take it to some auction, sell it off for thousands of dollars, and then use that money to pay back the village. Hell yeah, dude. But if he did that, he would have to leave, because if anybody heard that there was this man in Wedgeford making really good pottery, they'd be like, oh, that teacup is a fake. We fill in some other people on the plan, and everyone's like, Kai, wouldn't it be nice if we knew some guy with connections to Parliament who could maybe take the teacup for you, and then you'd never be involved with it. We can still get the money from the teacup. We can pay everybody back. Jeremy's all over this plan. He's so down. So Jeremy does. They take this teacup. It's sold for thousands of dollars. Everyone who had like gone into debt because of what Kai's dad did is repaid. And over the course of this book, like more and more people have been going to Kai being like, I'm so sorry. We shouldn't have treated you like that. That wasn't your fault. That was your dad's fault. You were 5 years old. Which, duh. Kai and Naomi get married. They bang some more. And then like the other Courtney Milan Wedgeford Trial books, this book has 2 epilogues. The first epilogue is them getting married. The second epilogue was the most emotionally distraught that these books made me, and I don't know if I can successfully convey why. It's pretty far in the future. Kai and Naomi are at a museum with their grandchildren, and they see Kai's teacup, and one of the granddaughters is asking about the art form of pottery. Kai gets really excited because none of his children or grandchildren had ever shown any interest in pottery, but this little girl's like, I want to learn, and he's like, okay. This epilogue also involves a lot of stuff about war and museums. Damn if that didn't get me. Book 3, which is actually book 3, The Earl Who Isn't.
That's really hot.
I spent an hour and a half talking about this book, and the footage is just the top of my head. Featuring Lily Bai and Andrew Yakita. Lily Bai is the granddaughter of Mr. Bai, famously allowed Naomi and Kai to kiss in his house while he hid in the pantry. Andrew is Naomi's cousin. So in Wedgeford, the kids were sort of Naomi, Andrew, Lily, Chloe, and Jeremy occasionally. Naomi and Chloe were best friends, and Lily and Andrew were best friends. That is, until 7 years ago, when Lily's grandfather sent her off to China to live with her grandmas to teach her how to be a good woman. Andrew is very passionate about vegetables. He's currently working on growing long beans, sauce pottery beans. He likes to grow plants. He's always giving everyone his seeds. The thing he really likes to do is to grow vegetables from Asia in Wedgeford. So he's secretly growing long beans to give them out to like the village elders as a surprise. One day, Andrew's tending to his beans and Lily bursts through the door. Andrew, do you know you're an Earl? Andrew says, oh, I'm an Earl? I'm so shocked. This is Andrew's dark secret. He's secretly the son of an Earl. But he doesn't want anyone to know about this because of how badly the Earl's family treated his mom. The Earl had a brother who was super like nobleman evil and pushed his pregnant mom down the stairs. That noble family has no idea that that Japanese woman who his father married had a boy. So they don't know that there is a legitimate heir to the earldom. And Andrew doesn't want them to know. He'd probably like try to murder me and my mom. Let's just keep that a secret and I'll never get married and have kids. But that's a problem because Andrew is super in love with Lily, and Lily is super in love with Andrew. Do either of these characters know that about each other? No. Everyone else knows it. Andrew's mom's like, so Lily's back. Naomi's like, so Lily's back. This is ruining Andrew's day and his plans for the beans. But for Lily, she's like, this is super great. I'm coming back after all this time, haven't spoken to anyone in Wedgeford in 7 years. I left on bad terms with my grandpa, left on, we'll get to it, complicated terms with Andrew, but I found this logbook and I can tell Andrew that he's an Earl and he's gonna have all this money and resources to do great things. This is wonderful. This is like the perfect way to come back into town. Lily has difficulty reading social cues. Lily has difficulty understanding social norms. The way she thinks about conversations and the way people perceive her. It's nice to read in a female protagonist of a historical romance novel. Andrew's a little bit miffed, talking through all these feelings with his mom. He doesn't tell his mom that Lily knows he's an Earl because that's gonna upset his mom. And Andrew's, if anything, he is I gotta keep it all inside to protect everybody else. He comes up with a plan. His plan is I could just steal the logbook from Lily and destroy it, and then nobody will ever know because that's the only proof we have that I'm the Earl. I have to itch my face. The most recent kind of medication is not doing well with my skin. I hate hormones. You know who else hates hormones? Lily and Andrew. Because Lily's grandpa told Lily, you are 15 years old, I'm sending you to China away from your family and friends to live with your grandmas. Also, Mr. Bai has 2 wives. That's why she has 2 grandmas. Lily's really passionate about women's rights. She tried to get involved in an English women's suffrage movement, and they were like, you can't be here, you're Asian. If you're here, that's going to make our cause harder. Only white women. She returned from that disaster, which Andrew went with her to the suffrage meeting. Go, Andrew. Really upset. So in her mind, she was like, my grandpa's sending me away because he can't handle me. He wanted a grandson. I'm too much. Lily, in a panic that she is being sent off to get married, goes to 16-year-old Andrew and says, hey, Andrew, I need you to do me a favor. Andrew said, sure, Lily, I'll do whatever you want because we're best friends. Lily said, Andrew, I need you to take my virginity.
As a friend?
Ooh, don't know how to communicate. So instead of saying something like, hey, Lily, what's wrong? How else can I help you? Andrew says this. Andrew and Lily sleep together. They're both having a lot of feelings. Andrew is thinking in his head, wow, I love Lily. But 1, I don't think Lily actually likes me because Andrew has 1 brain cell. Also, there's a little thing about him being secretly an Earl's heir and he doesn't want to put Lily in danger. In Lily's brain, she's like, this was my scared way of trying to get Andrew to ask me to marry him so that I can stay here. But because they are teenagers and aren't going to talk about their feelings, Andrew says something like, yeah, I won that bet. And Lily looks hurt about it.
Oh dear.
These are all the feelings that are percolating in the background of everything that we're going to get into. Okay. She worked at a printer in Hong Kong, printing sexually explicit literature. She's like, damn, this is empowering literature for women. Lily's part of a women's aid project in China, and she would help women escape their abusive husbands, helping women get abortions, giving women womb veils, aka female condoms, stealing women from their houses in the dead of night and shipping them off to other places. She can do something to help all of these women who don't have options because Lily slept with Andrew, went to a lady to get 19th century plan B that wasn't very safe, having a real bad time on the boat all alone, 15 years old, to China. Lily has never super felt like she fits in with other girls because she's not like other girls. Because of how she can't really keep up with conversation in the way that she thinks she's supposed to. She doesn't think she fits in with the image of women. A little bit of a tomboy, very loud, very rambunctious. With Andrew, if she had said something that didn't quite make sense, Andrew would be like, hey, Lily, can you explain that, please? Or she'd be in a situation where he'd explain something to her that she didn't quite get. We get each other. But For example, Chloe. When they were kids, Lily saw Chloe making lists and was like, Chloe, why are you making lists? And Chloe looked at her kind of hurt. And then all the other kids made fun of Chloe's list and took her list book. Lily thinks that Chloe doesn't like her. She thinks Naomi doesn't like her. And she also thinks Andrew's mom doesn't like her because she was always breaking things by accident at the inn. Everybody actually really likes Lily. Chloe likes Lily. She's like, hey, Lily, it's nice to see an old friend. And Lily's like, oh my God, we're friends. For me personally, the most relatable historical romance character. I was like, whoa, I think everyone hates me and doesn't quite understand the social cues.
Please do be seated.
This is a charming house.
Lily has brought with her from China a printing press. Lily is a nerd about printing presses. She's brought this press with her. Andrew helps her put it together. There's some innuendos. Lily's plan for the printing press is to print these collections of poetry, intersectional feminist poetry. But she doesn't feel like she can publish that under her name. She's come up with this Chinese princess, forged all of these documents about this princess to legitimize her existence, and she's going to print the poems under her name. Although Lily perceives Chloe as being like very feminine in the way that is socially acceptable, Chloe's like, damn, Lily, I really relate to these poems that you're printing. I feel like I am not the right kind of woman all the time. And they both see the world a little differently. They have to do things to cope socially. Chloe, you got this sauce business. They need a bunch of labels. Lily can print some labels for Chloe. Quite cute. Lily is trying to socially reconnect with all of her friends from the past. Andrew decides this is a great opportunity to go sneak into the house and steal the logbook. Crashing out about having to go through Lily's underwear drawer. Finds a bunch of books. They all look like the logbook. Lily has made duplicate looking books. But he opens the first book and his jaw drops because this book is sexually explicit erotic literature. There's pictures. He's like not normal about it. Andrew's so horny for Lily. 24 hours after Lily returns, Andrew's diegetically jacking off.
Peener jorked.
Envisioning her on the porch, just having a conversation, and he gets off to that domestic wife Lily. And as you will see, this man puts her through it. So the dude has the nerve to act shocked about her underwear and empowering erotic literature. This man's going to be thinking about those pictures for the rest of the book. Oh my God, Lily has porn. He manages to get the logbook. The next day, Lily wakes up, opens her underwear drawer, and is like, someone has been here. She discovers the logbook is missing. Immediately, because Lily has more than one brain cell, she realizes it was Andrew. Weirdo. And then upon thinking, why the hell would Andrew steal the logbook? She's like, oh, shit. Andrew knows he's an Earl. And he doesn't want anyone to know. Lily is hurt by this, obviously, because why the hell wouldn't Andrew tell her? Lily bursts into his warehouse. Someone has stolen the logbook and they folded all my underwear. And Andrew's like, oh my God. Oh no, who do you think it was? You know, we should probably go together to the archive because I've remembered that when ships dock, the captain has to give a copy of the log to the archives to keep. So there's another copy out there. Lily's like, why the hell is this man taking me on a wild goose chase? But sure, Andrew, let's go to Brighton. I don't even really understand why Andrew does this. They go to the archives. Those logbooks fell during this great fire of the archive. It's all very tragic. The Earl and his family set fire to that archive. Andrew and Lily head back home. Lily is being kind of weird, in Andrew's opinion. She's not really talking to him, and she seems mad at him. Also, this seems like a good time to mention since I'm talking about Andrew. Andrew got a letter the other day from his half-brother. Remember the kid who was running around the Wedgeford Trials in the first book? Alan, he's the Earl's son from his second marriage. He has figured out that Andrew is the legitimate heir to the earldom. Every time Alan comes to town or sends him a letter, which he does way too often, Andrew denies this. He's like, no, I'm not your brother. No, I'm not the Earl. No, you have no proof. I'm not going to help you. Andrew's mom and his dad, they are still married. So the dad's second marriage to Alan's mom, not a real marriage. Alan is illegitimate. The boy had sent a letter a couple days ago. Her dad is dying. Alan wants to blow this wide open to the world because Alan does not want to be the Earl. He sort of mentioned about the family being evil quite a lot. I don't want to do this. Lily heads over to Andrew's warehouse and sees him growing his beans. And he's like, Lily, look at my beans. I'm gonna give them out to the elders. Don't you love seeds, Lily? Seeds are so socially unifying and free. Lily's like, fuck, every time I'm mad at you, you do something hot. And Andrew's like, you mean like hot like friends, right? She's like, no, I mean attractive like carnally. You're so hot. Andrew then says some very dirty things to Lily and they make out on his counter. It's hot. And then Andrew says, Lily, I can't do this. Lily has had enough of Andrew. She has spotted the logbook. He didn't hide it super well. Takes the logbook and smacks him over the head with it. I don't endorse violence. I think they should have shot him. I don't endorse violence, but I do endorse smacking Andrew over the head. Now, all the feelings from when they slept together are coming to the surface. Andrew and Lily are mad. Andrew tells Lily what he thought, which is, Andrew says something fucking nuts. I think I'm gonna have to blur half of what's on the screen. We did this really intimate thing. You just used my feelings to like get what you wanted, and you didn't consider how I felt about that. And Lily's like, I did like you. I don't know what you're talking about. That meant a lot to me. You just dismissed it. It's so messy. And there's so much going on in all the reasonings behind these two not getting it. And usually I hate a misunderstanding trope. I'd say this is a well done situation. So now they've both put out the feelings of how they used to feel. Lily now turns to the present and is like, well, you had just said like 5 seconds ago that like you really like me. You actually really like me. And Andrew's like, I don't want to talk about this. I can't do anything about it. I'm an Earl. Okay. Somebody has decided that now is a really good time to come visit his half-brother. Alan has been outside the door for who knows how long. Really hope he didn't hear that part about the ejaculation.
Huh?
Alan now knows there is a logbook, and Alan has heard Andrew admit that he's an Earl. So Alan runs off and sends a telegram to his solicitor, giving away far too much information about where they are and what evidence he has. Not gonna lie, this bar made me tear up. The uncle's like man came and out of pure spite, destroyed everything, including all the broad beans. They sent a message of like, this is what happens. Everybody helps Andrew clean up the beans. Things are bad. They kind of come up with a plan to go into town and eavesdrop on the solicitor, find a way to get the logbook back. But there's a little bit of time until we're putting the plans into motion. So Lily goes back to working on her poetry volume, and Andrew shows up. And Andrew gives Lily cunnilingus to completion, not as foreplay. And then this man says, Lily, you should really also put your name on these books of poetry that you're writing and printing and producing. When I give them out to people, so proud. Oh my God, this poetry is great. I want to say that's my friend. The next day on the way to the city, Lily's real confused. And Lily, that's like not just a you social problem, girl, just friends problem. Unfortunately, a problem faced by many women. When I say yearning, the amount of time Andrew spends thinking about Lily wishing she could be his wife is crazy. The only thing Andrew wants in life is to garden all day and make people happy. And the other thing that he really wants is to make his wife happy. He is a wife guy. Please let me give you head. Can't. Because it would put her in danger. So, just friends, Lily and Andrew, eavesdrop on the evil uncle and the solicitor. The uncle taking money from the earldom for years and giving them to his friend, and they are going to set up Alan with that friend's daughter. And then they are going to put Alan into a mental institute, so they can steal all the rest of the money. So Lily comes back from this eavesdropping session. We gotta do something. And Andrew's like, fuck. Just friends, Lily and Andrew bang on the table. Do not use protection for a second time, no pulling out. Andrew, I can only give you so many passes, my guy. The mixed messages he is sending this woman, oh my God.
As a friend.
And they confess their love to each other because obviously they're super in love. It's kind of hot, okay? I don't know what you want me to say about it. Andrew's like, if I could marry you, Lily, like I would. I love you more than anything else in this world. But I can't because I'm like tragic and torn up or whatever. Andrew, knowing about this plan with Alan, goes to Alan and says, Alan, they have this plan. They're going to put you in an institution. Alan's like, yeah, I know. I've been telling you they're evil. Can't marry that girl because I promised my boyfriend I would never marry a girl. Alan is so annoying, but also like kind of endearing. So Andrew and Alan sneak off to the Earl estate where their dad is dying. Andrew sees all of this Japanese decor that the father stole when he came back from Japan. It's always stealing when it's imperialism. The dad's like, "You're my son. That woman was the greatest love of my life." Andrew's like, "How the fuck could you say she's the greatest love of your life and then like want to abandon her all the time?" Oh, I've been treating Lily really bad, haven't I? Has so many revelations and they're always a little bit too late. Andrew realizes he's done bad, and now he's also like, damn, I've also done bad by my brother because he's been being abused and I didn't even care or notice. They make the dad change the will so that Andrew is now Alan's legal guardian, not the evil uncle. We've solved that particular Alan danger. They swapped the logbooks. They have the real logbook, and now the uncle and the solicitor have a copy of Lily's translated erotic literature bound to look like the logbook. Smut always comes in handy. Lily this whole time has been trying to make her grandfather the right kind of tea to mend their relationship, and nothing's working. So finally she's just like, I can't do any of this right. I was never what you wanted. You wanted a grandson. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? No, I sent you to live with your grandmas because I'm not the right person to like teach you how to be a woman. Grandfather Bai did not treat his first wife very well. Okay, well, she's not like listening to me. I'm just going to take another wife. But then his 2 wives fell in gay love. Hell yeah, brother. The gay people are going crazy in this book. You were so passionate about suffrage and women's rights and shit. I sent you to the lesbians. Lily and her grandfather have amended their relationship. Lovely. Andrew decides it's time to tell people he's a secret Earl. As we learned from every other book in this series, sometimes you just need to actually talk about your problems, and then the people who love you will come together and help you solve the problem. Because everybody is like Andrew. What if there was this like really good printer, bookbinder in town who could make a fake logbook and we slightly change your mom's name so it's not your mom, and then like you're not the Earl. So then when we go to Parliament to the will dispute because your dad's dead now, it wouldn't be your mom, you wouldn't be connected. Earldom dissolved, problem solved. Andrew, whose whole personality is,
It's so tragic, I can't marry anybody in love.
It would be really handy if we knew somebody with a printing press who can bind books really well. Lily prints the book. Andrew shows up at Lily's back door, all soaking wet, and is like, Lily, I probably shouldn't be here. We shouldn't do this. But, like, let's start making out. Andrew and Lily sleep together again. For the first time using protection. Courtney Milan putting something in this book that I had never encountered in a romance book before, and I'm kind of shocked I've never encountered it before. Making the condoms gender neutral. Guy, sexy, putting in the internal condom for lady. Maybe this is more common than I've encountered. For some reason, this blew my mind. Lily's like, Andrew, I love you. I want you to be my husband. And Andrew says, yeah, I want to be your husband. That's important. You gotta remember that part for later. The next day, they go to Parliament. It's announced that Andrew, this random man, is now going to be the legal guardian of Alan. They present the book. They changed the name to the name of Lily's fake Chinese princess. This Chinese princess was the godmother of my fiance, Lily Bai. Andrew has nothing to do with this family at all. The earldom is dissolved. It was that easy, Andrew. Where there is a Courtney Milan female protagonist, there is a way to get out of the pickle. So they're all happy, they're celebrating, hell yeah. And Andrew takes Lily aside and he says, Lily, I love you and I'm really sorry that I already said you were my fiance when I haven't asked you. Lily, will you marry me? And Lily's like, what the fuck, dude? Silly man, I already asked you to marry me and you said yes last night. We're already engaged. Dumbass. It's cute. Lily and Andrew finally get married and can have intercourse as a married couple.
As God intended.
Lily is now going to print and publish and distribute her book. And it's going to say on the cover, written by this fake Chinese princess with help from Lily Bai, who's also the typesetter and the printer and like la la la. So Lily gets credit for her work. Epilogue. Lily's book of intersectional feminist poetry is a bestseller. She's at a bookstore. Andrew's there just being like super wife guy. Damn, he's proud of his wife. Damn, he loves his wife. Lily's signing books. When the woman from the English like Women's Suffrage Society meeting, the disastrous meeting that made Lily really upset because they told her to get out because she's Chinese. This woman who said all these terrible racist things to Lily comes up with the book like, oh my God, I love these poems. They speak to my soul, blah, blah, blah. And Lily had always thought that like one day she would get revenge on this woman. Lily, who has gone through so much, is like, you know what, lady, the best way for us to like secure our rights as women to vote and more is to stand together. Hell yeah, brother. That's the end of the book. No epilogue children. No epilogue grandchildren. Some very helpful author's notes from Courtney Milan, which I actually read. Hey, very last minute note to say something that I've been thinking about, and I know I'll kick myself if I don't squeeze it in here somewhere. Something that I really enjoyed about all of these books is the female friendships. But so in like the Courtney Milan books, the girls, they will talk to each other about their relationships. Naomi and Chloe try and give Lily like a safe sex talk, and she's like, it's okay guys, I got this. But in the Tessa Dare books, they will not tell each other shit. They're all having sex before marriage, but like they're all acting like they're not. They all need to be doing a little bit of chatting. Okay, they need to be having some girl talk. I first encountered Janice Radway's 1984 book, Reading the Romance, in a first-year cultural studies class. It was the first serious study of romance fiction and romance readers that was attempting to push back against the elitist dismissal of romance in academia. A good mission, one would think. I can admit that Radway's approach to a serious study of romance and romance readers was influential to the field of literary criticism and cultural studies. She did an ethnography, and at the time, close reading was like pretty much the primary methodology of literary studies. So it was a big deal in terms of method. If you're not a humanist and you're watching this, yes, humanists still have methodology. Radway sort of dropped in on a book club for a while. This was her book. She studied them and the books they were reading, mostly historical romance. When she talks about women in this book, she's talking about this specific group of women. She's talking about this book club. She calls them the Smithton women because that's the town that she was in. In this book, Radway suggests that women read romance to escape their life and their responsibilities, making the act of reading itself a rebellion, an act of resistance. And this is her big however. Women only read these books in particular, romance, because of their dependent status as women. Their desire to read romance stems from a real dissatisfaction in their lives, created by heterosexual marriage and the patriarchy. These women haven't woken up from their reality into liberation. In other words, if they were woke feminist scholars like Janice Radway, they wouldn't need romance. And they are blind to the fact that reading romance to escape their lives is upholding the patriarchy that enslaves them. I'm getting a little silly with it because it is a little bit silly to me and many other scholars since this book came out in 1984. That conclusion rings of the exact elitist dismissal of romance and romance readers that it claims to be fighting against. Is this view of women as blind to their own oppression, feeding into the patriarchy through their hobbies, not, I don't know, a tad condescending? Janice Radway also thinks that these women are blind to psychoanalytical close readings within the text. They're just reading it at face value. So when the women tell her that they like this scene where a woman comes in with a sword and saves another woman from being sexually assaulted, Janice Radway is like, yeah, that's because you have penis envy. The sword is a penis. Guys, I'm so sick of psychoanalysis. I'm so sick of psychoanalysis. Why is it always a penis? The trees are penises. The swords are penises. The caves are vaginas. Why? Why does a woman have to wield a phallus to save another woman? That's what that means to you, Janice Radway? Swords aren't just cool. Sometimes a sword is a sword, and a woman with a sword is just hot. When I complain about this whole psychoanalysis thing, I'm not saying it isn't that deep. I'm just of the opinion that it's deep in a direction that's not penises. Sometimes. Obviously, It's been a long time. There's a lot of people out there who are smart. I'm not the only person who has issue with this study. Marcella Thompson, Patricia Koski, and Lori Holyfield wrote an article in 1997 called Romance and Agency, an Argument Revisited, which shares many of the critiques that I have. They also wrote at a time much closer to Radway than I am, situating their argument alongside a similar moment in feminism and romance fiction. And as Radway is coming out of third wave feminism, one sees a view of women as unhappy and needing to escape an existence made intolerable by sexist institutional arrangements. Thus, although Radway refused to dismiss romances as degrading and corrupting because they give women time to pursue their own interests, she continued to argue that those interests spring directly from women's position of powerlessness. This is not an attempt to establish agency, where every action can be traced directly back to the patriarchal structure. Did I pick up a shit ton of historical romance novels because of the patriarchy? This argument has always confused me and will continue to confuse me. What about romance makes it so inherently patriarchal? One could argue, as does Radway, that romances naturalize heterosexual female desire, making patriarchal marriage the only means for women to achieve social success and personal satisfaction. I'm going off script right now because I've just thought of this, but I don't know if anyone knows about Canada Reads, but it's this contest where they pick a bunch of Canadian books and they have these Canadian celebrities debate over the books, and I kept getting snippets of it on the radio. Every year, Canada Reads throws in a romance book just to give the romance readers a bone. And this year It's Different This Time by Joss Richard. I have not read this book. I don't even know what it's about. But the argument that somebody, I couldn't see them, I was listening to it on the radio, is making against the woman who has brought this book to the table to win Canada Reads, which is that this romance was really pushing the patriarchy and the heterosexual agenda. And I was like, I wonder if it is, or if that's just the main argument that people have against romance. If you have read it, please tell me. I might cut this out because I am talking about stuff that I have no knowledge of, and that's really irresponsible of me, but I just thought it was funny. Damn, this person has Janice Radway talking points. I found the clip. All I heard was this bit about Disney.
I felt like it did reinforce some very outdated, conventional gender norms. I was raised on Disney. I watched a lot of Disney movies that made me think I needed to find my Disney prince. And I feel like even though this is framed within a very contemporary feminist lens, it's still very much rooted in outdated ideas of gender and sex. And
I read a lot of books. I don't think you need to learn anything from every single book that you read. I think the impact that it leaves with you and the way you feel is more important than what you're learning from the novel.
I don't necessarily just mean intellectual, because there's a connection between all of it, and I don't think that this book does that. Again, it's like watching a Hallmark movie.
I don't know who any of these Canadian celebrities are. I've never seen any of these people before in my life. The look on the other person's face when she said you don't need to learn something from every book. Oh, that got me. Anyway, if you want some sort of lukewarm maple syrup flavored tea, check out the Canada Reads debate. Anyway, back to the point. The fantasy resolution of the tale ensures the heroine's achievement of the very pleasure the readers endlessly long for, in thus reading the story of a woman who is granted adult autonomy, a secure social position, and the completion produced by maternal nurturance, all in the person of the romantic hero. The Smithton women are repeatedly asserting to be true what their still unfulfilled desire demonstrates to be false. That is, that heterosexuality can create a fully coherent, fully satisfied female subject. To unpack this argument, we need to understand what makes a novel a romance in the contemporary sense. And you're probably screaming at me, Kalia, I know what a romance is, but just bear with me. According to the Romance Writers of America, because I couldn't find a Romance Writers of Canada definition, 2 basic elements comprise every romance novel. 1. A central love story. The main plot centers around individuals falling in love and struggling to make the relationship work. A writer can include as many subplots as they want, as long as the love story is the main focus of the novel. 2. An emotionally satisfying and optimistic ending. In a romance, the lovers who risk and struggle for each other and their relationship are rewarded with emotional justice and unconditional love. Romance is a character-driven genre. The relationships between the characters, their triumphs, their struggles, and flaws, that's the plot. That is what is interesting. There may be external actions driving everything forward, but the heart of the story is internal. This quality makes romance an excellent genre for exploring emotions, generational trauma, histories, the self. We get to discuss a book I actually enjoy, A Natural History of Romance by Pamela Regis. Pamela Regis points out something that to romance readers I think is glaringly obvious. When telling a story about two characters falling in love and navigating a relationship, the emotionally satisfying end to that relationship is monogamy. Unless you're reading one of the many books at the romance convention I went to where there were at times 5 hot, ready men who sometimes also kissed each other, ready for the female protagonist. Was that Janice Radway's ideal version of romance? A why choose? There were some crazy posters at that event. We are not celebrating marriage or monogamy for marriage or monogamy's sake. It's the same way you clap when Hercules slays the Hydra, or we scream when Orpheus turns around to look at Eurydice. How about those topical references? We're celebrating the union of these two characters because it is the triumphant conclusion. The women that Janice Radway spoke to said that they enjoyed the emotional sustenance of romance. Quote, I found it impossible to ignore their equally fervent insistence that romance reading creates a feeling of hope, provides emotional sustenance, and produces a fully visceral sense of well-being. What contribution did the narration of a romance make to their experience of pleasure? Why didn't the Smithton women choose to read detective stories, westerns, or bestsellers in their precious private moments? Maybe we like it, Janice. Sorry, Janice Dr. Radway. You may recall that emotional sustenance came up in that definition of romance. The romantic plot is how we get from the start to the end of the book. That's how romance works. That's the structure. It is the main point. But due to that connection between people that the romance revolves around, they are interested in issues of race, gender, class, sexuality, anything you can think of. These issues are exacerbated by the patriarchy. But finding what Radway's book club described as emotional sustenance in romance, that's just being a human. Romance fiction is so much more than mindless escapism. The romance genre is by no means free from criticism. It is a genre of fiction. The way that authors of color are treated by the romance writing community, wee woo wee woo, all of the tropes in romance novels that have been weird as hell, derogatory, the gentle savage, the fetishization of black people, slave and slave owner, people in romantic relationships with Confederate officers. There are so many things about, especially the historical romance novels of old. None of these things I'm really talking about apply to the historical romance novels that I read. All of those qualities that are worth criticizing and looking into aren't the things that people are criticizing. The things that people are criticizing are like anti-intellectualism.
We love the void. Tomodachi Life, living the dream.
What if I just play all of Tomodachi Life like this with you guys from my armchair?
I am exhausted. Wish I knew why.
Girl!
Hello there, chaperone. I'm known as Hero.
Yeah. This is just what the world needs.
Dude. Dude. Guys, we have Electo the night that whole. Yes!
I've been waiting for this moment to share it with you.
The thing is, Harrow, I can't stop thinking about you. You're everything to me. Harrow. Sorry.
Oh my god. I hate this stupid
Stop it. Say no more. You've done enough damage today.
Will you marry me?
Yes, of course. I'd love to marry you.
Yes! Hell yeah. Thank you, Ryan Gosling. I didn't take a screenshot of that.
Do you think it's a boy or a girl?
It's a girl.
Would you look at that?
Wow!
I was born with face paint. Now, I'm no doctor, but that's probably normal.
She is beautiful. I'm too scared to take off the face paint. Yeah. No, that's not. No.
We're going to raise this kid with all of the love and care in the world.
Oh, I'm sure you will, babies.
And we hope you'll keep an eye out for our child, too.
I can't believe they had a baby. Oh, it has red hair. It's so nice. I'm actually getting kind of emotional. Why'd they have a freaky clown baby? Oh, God. Wow. Oh. I have no words.
Stop. I'm old enough to live on my own now.
I'm not sending you anywhere else.
Sounds good to me.
You would terrify the masses. She looks really familiar, but I can't quite figure out why. Does she look like one of the Hex girls, maybe? Don't worry, I saved.
Now, I'm 99% sure that this is a series and not a label put on certain books written by Beverly Jenkins, but as far as I can tell, these books are not connected in any way. In one of them, somebody mentions the Levac family, which is from the first book. It's not like the other books where there's other characters that show up in the next book and you kind of know who it's going to be based on things that are being set up. Also for this series, blanket content warning, sexual assault, and slavery. The 3 books are Rebel, Wild Rain, and To Catch a Raven. Book 1, which is actually book 1, Rebel, is set in very recently post-Civil War New Orleans. It's set during the Restoration period. Valinda, Val, is our lady, and Drake Levac is our man. Valinda is from, I believe, New York, but she's moved here to work as a teacher because there's now a large population of Black people who can't read and who haven't had any sort of education. Since this book is set in such a newly freely emancipated New Orleans, a lot of these people she's teaching are adults. She's teaching them how to teach their children. There's a lot of people who are still looking for loved ones that were lost during the war, during the slave trade. It is a very heavy book, but we'll get to it. At the same time, it's very warm. Valinda, working as a teacher in New Orleans. She's doing so against her father's wishes. He wants her to marry this old guy. I think it's his friend. There's always a guy, a dad always wants them to marry his friends. Like, that's weird. I believe he married her sister off to an old guy. Her sister's really unhappy. He might have died. Her sister might be a widow. Her mom and her sister don't really fight back as much as Valinda does. She's like, nah, I'm not marrying that guy. Actually, I'm engaged to my best friend. She's engaged to her boy best friend, who might be gay. I don't know if I'm making up all these gay people. I'm definitely not making up the gay people in the Courtney Milan books. They were there, but I might be making them up in this one and the Tessa Dare books. She's being an independent woman. She lives with these 2 older women who are sisters. One of them likes her and lets her live there. The other one really doesn't like her, I think for racist reasons. She's also like in her late 20s. It was so refreshing to have an older, saying late 20s and then older makes me literally want to jump out the window. But all of the protagonists were so young up to this point that it was so nice to read about someone who was like 27. She's such a fun character. She's so like self-assured. Her humor is very biting. One day, Valinda's teaching. She's at the school when these white guys show up and start stirring up shit. These are the white supremacists. They start to like kind of threaten her, and she, in her very Valinda way, implies that they could really use some teaching, you know, like that's why they're probably at the school, right? Not to like burn it down. She pretty much belittles them until they give up and go away. Slay Valinda. But later on, they come back to teach her a lesson. It gets very SA scary here. I do think she smacks one of them with a burning stick. But as Val is running away from these guys, she bumps into tall, dark, handsome architect, builder, cinnamon roll, haughty Drake Levac. Drake scares off the white supremacists. He might punch somebody. Drake and Val have a cute little convo. He calls her Sherry. There are sparks. He takes her back to her house, I think. He gives her some kind of address. I think his parents own a hotel. I think that's this book. I think he gives her like his mom's address or something. I don't really remember. But he gives her like his number. She goes home. Oh no. Valinda's been kicked out. The old lady who liked her died. And now it's the like one who doesn't like her and she's evicting her. So Valinda has been kicked out on the street. Nothing but her bag and her like teacher clothes. She has nowhere to go. She's got no friends, no family in New Orleans except tall, dark architect, builder, haughty, cinnamon roll, Drake Levac. She goes to his house. See, that's why I think it's a hotel. Because there's a guy at the door who's like, you can't come in here. And she's like, Drake. And he shows up and is like, oh, Val, hey, come in. It's cute. Anyway, he takes her in. His whole family's there. He's got brothers. And this is something I learned. One of his brothers has a wife, and they have a book. But it's not one of the books in the series. Beverly Jenkins, please explain to me if this is a series or not. Thank you, Queen. Who's going to tell her she forgot the gloves? Oh, they're literally by my freak. Glove fell in my tea. No gloves. Val has dinner with them. And this whole time, his family is kind of picking up that he likes this woman. They're like, it's very casually dropped here that Drake has a mistress. Not serious about her. He just goes to bang. Sure, I guess. Drake's really putting the moves on Val, but she's made it clear she has a fiance. And he's kind of like, Val is now kind of living at the mom's house / maybe the hotel. This book and the other ones in this series are very female relationship centered. All the women have this respect for each other. At some point, there's POV swapping other than just between the love interests. We go to the white supremacists POV at one point, and one of them gets eaten by a gator. A white supremacist gets eaten by gators.
Ladies, I'm trying to do my work today.
Hell yeah. Despite Val being engaged, her and Drake are having what I can only describe as cute dates. They eat really yummy sounding food outside under like the stars, and he talks to her about all the things he's built and wants to build, and she tells him about teaching and her dreams to open a girls' school that teaches them useful things. There is some digs about needlework and like feminine pursuits here, which usually annoys me, and it annoyed me here. You can be into science and math and literature and also like to do needlework. Needlework is badass, and let's not pretend it isn't. The white supremacists trash Val's school. It's unusable. So Val and Drake go around and tell all of the students that there won't be classes anymore. Here we get to see like the range of people that Val's been teaching and the lengths that they're going to for this education. This book is very heavy and then it's very fluffy. At some point, Val and Drake have this conversation where Val's like, her mom warned her about marital duties and she's not interested in that. And Drake finds out somehow that Val has never arrived, and he offers to make her arrive. And she's like, I'm engaged. But something must be working because they do smooch. I'm a little bit fuzzy on the order of events here. Drake and Val start doing a little bit more than kissing. He starts making her arrive. Hand stuff, mouth stuff. I don't remember if this happens before or after, but Val's fiance stops by and they decide to become unengaged. It's very amicable. As I said, he's a nice guy. He's her friend. He might be gay. And he kind of sees the life she's built here and he's like, damn, Val, like, hell yeah. He's very encouraging and understanding and like supports her dreams. And then he leaves. And then maybe that's when Val and Drake start arriving. He's kind of giving her romance lessons, sort of. At some point after that, Val's parents show up because they've found out that she's unengaged. Maybe she wrote them a letter? I don't know, but it's her dad, her sister, and her mom. Her sister and her mom do a lot of crying. Her dad's like, you need to get married to this old guy who's my friend because you're not marrying your friend. Also, you need to come home to New York. You can't work as a teacher in New Orleans. Val's like, no, you know what? I'm not going home. I have a community here. I have a life here. I have friends here. I'm not going home. But I think her dad might cut her off or something. Drake swoops in and is like, well, me and Val are engaged. So we have a marriage of convenience, but not really because they've sort of been smooching. I might be messing up all the details of this book, guys. I'm so sorry. I didn't take great notes and it's been 3 months. Some other stuff happens. Drake builds Val new spaces to teach so she can resume lessons. And it's very heartwarming. The white supremacists destroy someone's house. It might be Drake's house. It's kind of scary, but then they defeat the white supremacists. Don't worry. He takes her shopping because she's only really had kind of plain teacher clothes and he buys her like fancy lingerie. She gets a little pretty woman moment. They get married. They bang penetratively. There's no pulling out. There's like an epilogue where she encounters one of the white supremacists again and he threatens her again, but she escapes. She's safe. She stood up for herself. She gets home because she was at the pharmacy, tells Drake she's pregnant. And they're going to continue the work of building community. And that's the book. Book 2, which is actually book 3, To Catch a Raven. Braxton and Raven. I think the best way for me to introduce this particular book to you is for me to read to you from the back of the book. A former Confederate official is suspected of stealing the Declaration of Independence. Raven, posing as his housekeeper, is tasked with getting it back.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, as soon as I read that, I was going to read this book. I was here for it. Raven Moreau, our lady. She's very cheeky. She's a thief in a thief family. She also comes from a very large family. They're quite poor. She's got a lot of, I think, brothers and sisters. There's a lot of other younger people in the house that she lives in. There's also this little child. It's either her niece or her sister. And the little child's clairvoyant. Is always saying stuff about the future that then comes to pass. And she tells Braxton and Raven that they're going to get married. Braxton Steele is a very by-the-books kind of guy. Hello? As we know, Raven gets recruited by the government to steal back the Declaration of Independence.
I'm gonna steal it.
Braxton Steele, for some reason, is also going with her, and they're going to disguise themselves as housekeepers and sneak into their house and then steal the Declaration of Independence back. They do have to pretend that they're a married couple for this plan to work, obviously. No one would buy 2 unmarried housekeepers. And that's terrible because Braxton and Raven don't super like each other. They're very different. They got different vibes, different energy. Braxton thinks stealing is wrong and Raven thinks he's too uptight. They do have some chemistry though because pretty much in their first interaction, Raven says some very dirty things to Braxton just to keep him on his toes. Also, Braxton's dad and Raven's mom knew each other as youths, low-key lovers, but Raven's mom's mom, so Raven's grandma, didn't want her mom to marry Braxton's dad because poor. So she made Raven's mom marry this rich guy. And then I think at the wedding ceremony, Braxton's dad objected. He did something that embarrassed the mom and then she didn't want to see him ever again. They have not seen each other in years. They have adult children now, right? But as soon as they reunite because of this whole thing, they start smooching. Braxton's dad and Raven's mom. He's not letting that lady slip through his fingers again. And I'm sorry, I can't think of a better segue than fingers. Braxton is outside. Their parents are upstairs. And Raven his fingers while they can hear their parents banging. I don't know if there's anything that I can say that is sufficient to describe how weird this was, so maybe I'll just breeze past it and we can just all acknowledge that that's weird, okay? It's gonna happen a couple more times. Something else I can talk about in the meantime is much like the first book with the white supremacists. This book has POV swapping to somebody who's not in the romantic relationship, and that is this random policewoman who is hunting for Raven. She's a little incompetent. Raven disguises herself as an old woman, sneaks into the house that this policewoman is staying in, poisons her, gets her out of the way. Raven and Braxton have to take a train to get from where they are to where they're going. There's segregated seating. This is what I mean by there's no way these books could be written without racism being addressed, and Beverly Jenkins does so very purposefully, very directly. It's, I think here that Braxton realizes Raven can't read, so he starts to teach her. It's very gentle, very kind. That dynamic, gentle, kind, strong men, and very kind of headstrong women, that's kind of the through line of these books. There's also a little boy in their section of the train who also listens to Braxton reading to Raven. And it's very cute. And then later on in the book, Braxton sends that little boy books. And that really touched me. Disguised as housekeepers, Braxton and Raven go to the former Confederate officer's house. Only the wife is there. She's also very racist, obviously. It's icky. Braxton and Raven are pretending to be housekeepers, but actually doing housekeeper things. They're cooking, they're cleaning, they're chopping wood. But very quickly, this fake relationship that they have starts sort of manifesting in the real world because they do start smooching. I mean, they've already been smooching. They were doing some finger stuff, but now we're past enemies. We're at lovers. They bang. And you want to hear the only notes that I took for this book? Scrotum, C to completion as foreplay. Sponge's protection, 2-0. Now let me explain these very important smart related notes to you. I became intrigued by which books would get anatomical with it and how specific they'd get. Courtney Milan and Beverly Jenkins would get the most anatomical. This book was the only instance of scrotum, by the way. That's why I wrote it down. Also, Raven has a sponge. Another instance of protection. Yes! C to completion as foreplay. In a lot of the Julia Quinn Desidere books, the man will give head, but usually if the woman arrives from the head, she will not later arrive from anything else. If the woman does not arrive from the head, she will later arrive from something else. Beverly Jenkins, woman arrives from head, woman arrives from other stuff. In fact, the women are having arrivals left, right, and center. During the first book, I had the thought, this is for moms. I'm sorry, moms, I should not have underestimated your freak. Now it's time to heist. Raven, crafty lady that she is, gets one of her family members to bring her mice. She puts the mice in the racist lady's wig. The racist lady freaks out and leaves. Braxton and Raven have the house to themselves. What do? They don't bang. They go look for the Declaration of Independence, which of course is hidden in the floorboards. They also find a bunch of money. This guy's been involved in some gambling and schemes. You read at the back of this book and you're like, okay, they're going to steal back the Declaration of Independence. I'm here. I'm excited. When I tell you it was boring, how do you make that boring? What do you mean it's just in the floorboards and we're moving on? I was so disappointed. They have the Declaration of Independence. Everything I know about the Declaration of Independence, I know from National Treasure. Once again, I'm Canadian. Because it seems, whatever. They take it back, they go home. At some point, Braxton takes Raven to a ball. At the ball, Raven feels really out of place. Again, they have this social difference, not just in terms of money, but in terms of like class. She overhears some women saying some not very nice things about her. And then she's like, I can't be with Braxton. She wasn't really into marriage before. And then she was like, maybe because we bang and it's good. But now she's like, no, because this is the kind of world that he's in. And she doesn't feel like she fits in. So she gets upset and decides they cannot be together because of this social difference. Also, Braxton might be engaged. Or maybe he's not engaged, but there's like a woman he's kind of supposed to marry. And I remember her being nice, but all the books are blending together in my head. He doesn't want to marry her. He wants to marry Raven, right? He's in love. So now Raven goes and talks, maybe her mom, she talks to somebody, maybe the clairvoyant child, who knows. Braxton and Raven's parents get married. Braxton and Raven are now step-siblings. Are we going to address this? No. Ex-Confederate guy goes home to his racist wife. The Declaration of Independence is not in the floorboards. It's missing. All the money's missing. Freaks out. He was in debt, lying about a bunch of stuff. His crazy racist wife chops him up into pieces with an axe. There's always one detail in the Beverly Jenkins books that goes so metal out of nowhere. Braxton and Raven work things out. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna get married. Let's not think about them being step-siblings. They bang, and they can hear their parents banging again. Epilogue, they have twins. And then the clairvoyant child tells them they're gonna have another kid. And they do have another kid. 3 under 3 is crazy work. Book 3, which is actually book 2, Wild Rain. My notes for this book that aren't smutty: horse, woman, man, guns, happy, question mark. Spring and Garrett. I'm sorry if I call him Colton. Colton's her brother. But as you know, I have a hard time with names, and it's not that I don't respect people or that I just don't try. There's some wires in my brain that are connected in the wrong ports, okay? And I mix up people and place names. Spring runs a horse ranch. Hi, Barbie. Spring wears pants. She hangs animal skulls in her house. Okay, Garrett is a reporter. He's got like a black newspaper and he's writing this story about doctors. So he comes to this little town somewhere in America where they have planes. Spring's brother, Colton, is a doctor, but Garrett gets a little bit distracted by Spring. Both Garrett and Spring were born into slavery. Out of all of the Beverly Jenkins books I read, this book is the closest to slavery. Neither of them were born free. And as a result, both of them have a lot of trauma that they're dealing with. Obviously. Spring has no interest in marriage. She does not want to give up her independence. She has a freaking horse ranch. When Spring was 18, her grandfather wanted her to marry his friend. In response to this, Spring went to this guy who was like, yeah, you can work for me, but you're going to have to do sexual favors for me and my dad. She went to do that, and it sent her down a spiral of gambling, drinking, fighting. It got her a bad reputation around town. But she got out of that situation. I wrote down that the guy was named Ketchum. So Ketchum's the creepy old guy who made her do sexual favors for him and his dad. I don't know if the brother didn't know about this or didn't do anything about it. Maybe he was at doctor school. But Spring holds a lot of resentment towards her grandfather, as he was the one who gave her the ultimatum. So that's why she went and did this. She's out of that situation. She's got her own business, her own home. She's happy. I think maybe there's a storm or he hurt himself, but somehow Spring stumbles upon Garrett. He's just kind of like out there, and she brings him home, give him a place to stay, gives him tea, and they start sort of vibing. He's intrigued. They're there for a few days getting to know each other, and then she takes him back into town because he's told her about this paper, about these interviews. She's like hooking him up with people. She learns that he wants to be a carpenter. They go to the saloon, cowboys. At the saloon, there's a guy there, and he insults Spring. Spring tells him he has a tiny penis and pulls a gun on him. And that's the kind of book this is. After all this drama at the saloon, Spring leaves upset because she does have this reputation in the town. Garrett follows her out and is like, they're gonna go home together. She makes it very clear up front. She's like, I'm not interested in a relationship. I'm not interested in marriage. Don't try to wife me up. I just want to bang. And he's like, okay. Although he is very into marriage and love and stuff. So yeah, let's see how that works out. But here's my notes. Oh God. Multi-O. On fingers. Savoring size. Tribute. And gloriously he gave, she took. Wow. Another one. Let me. Holy crap. This is my favorite one. Come look and see. I'd prefer to lick and see.
He put the sponge in.
Spring has a sponge. Yeah. It is crazy that I had never encountered a book where one party put the internal condom into another party. And then I read it in 2 books in 1 week. I have also since read like a couple other historical romance novels where there are shields. The men didn't put the shields in. This is the most spicy of the Beverly Jenkins books. Garrett might be engaged. This time I'm pretty sure he was. But now he wants to marry Spring. She's dickmatized him. He's working in town. She's horses. He's falling in love with her, and she is learning that a relationship can be positive. She's learning to love, and he's learning you can be with a cool girl. At some point, his parents show up, and they're not very nice to Spring. She wears pants and has animal skulls in her house. Garrett's like, no, I'm not gonna listen to you. I'm not gonna marry that girl. I'm gonna marry Spring. And also, I'm not gonna be a journalist anymore. I'm gonna move here and be a carpenter. They've confessed their love to each other. They bang. And then Garrett says something about wanting Spring to have his babies. He wants children that are born free. And Spring's like, I can't give that to you. I don't want to have kids. And Garrett just kind of gets up and leaves because he's really disappointed that she doesn't want kids. And he's like, well, I can't marry her now. She doesn't want kids. He would have this conversation sooner. Also, what the hell? He literally just walks out. Like the other Beverly Jenkins books, this book has a lot of strong female friendships. Spring has a BFF girl who just had a baby. I think she might have some other kids. Spring goes over there and talks to her, I think. It's not that Spring doesn't like kids. I think because of her experiences with the guy who was abusive to her and her family situation, like she does not want to have kids. You don't need to have an excuse to not want to have kids, period. But there are reasons behind why she's made this decision. And she's like, well, I don't know how to explain this to this guy who wants kids. Garrett goes off to talk to somebody about it. I don't remember who he talks to. It might be his dad. Somebody told Garrett that he doesn't need to have kids to be happy with Spring. Now, remember when I said sometimes these books get really metal? You could argue that it got metal when Spring pulled the gun on the guy who told her she was a whore. Spring gets cornered by Ketchum, and he has a gun. Don't remember what he wants or why he's doing that, but they're getting in a fight. Her grandpa shows up. I think her grandpa shoots Ketchum, but her grandpa also gets shot. And then Garrett shows up, and I think Garrett also gets shot in the leg. Leg shot, leg reversal. But Ketchum dies. And then the grandpa bleeds out in Spring's arms after apologizing for the things he did. Garrett wakes up in Spring's house, I think. And they're like, well, we can't bang because you need to recover. But I wrote a man who made tea. So I think it's cute when men make tea. So maybe he nurses her back to health. I don't remember and I'm sorry. But he makes her tea. They decide that they are going to be together and they're just not going to have kids. I mean, you kind of get it at this point. Slay. So much discourse around romance demonstrates a misunderstanding of the emotional significance of romance. Reading romance is a little bit like craving itself. And I don't mean that in like a solely a horny way. I mean it in like a reading is sort of an emulation of hunger. I don't know if it is a question of liberation, because if you are liberated from, say, heterosexual marriage, the patriarchy, like, would the pansexual people and polycules in a matriarchy not yearn? That's a question Marge Piercy weirdly comes close to trying to answer in Women on the Edge of Time. Is it just hunger?
We love the void.
It is the chase. Who knows? Nighttime Tylenol doesn't know. I'm also going to bring in smut because I think that that is people's biggest criticism today, not marriage. Weirdly, I feel like we've got past the marriage thing, and I don't really know what that says about us as a society. But the issue constantly popping up in thought pieces is women's inability to read anything without a sex scene, without kissing, without a romance subplot or plot. As a recovering Catholic, I find this tyranny of purity culture very funny. Just because women are being loud about reading about people banging doesn't mean that people haven't always been reading that kind of stuff. A lot of critics, even like Pamela Regis, who's defending romance, simply don't know what to do with the sex scenes. I think about smut, especially in something like historical romance, as like the music in a musical. You know how in musicals, a musical number often stands in as the point in which talking is no longer enough to convey the emotion? That's sort of smut at a technical level. It's a simulacrum. Sometimes the smutty is just porn. I would say Icebreaker is more porn than romance, in my opinion, but maybe for some people out there, it did serve some greater emotional purpose than simply porn.
I think of everything through sex now.
And love.
Nope, not for me.
I have been guilty in the past of coming close to the let me read my trash argument. It's a defensive, knee-jerk response that I'm not proud of. And I've tried to communicate the function of certain romance books by likening them to pop songs, because I often approach thoughts metaphorically. It is unfortunately how my brain works. The thing that people search for in romance, something that they are lacking, is that due to the patriarchy, heterosexuality, a literary crisis? If you've made it this far into this video, you can probably guess my opinion on that. No. A not insignificant part of me understands the confusion around romance, because even now there are aspects of the rise of romance reading currently that infuriate me. I hate tagging. Enemies to lovers, demons and angels, friends to lovers, why choose, spicy, puffy. I feel like that's a marketing problem, but now everyone does it. Everyone does it when they talk about books. Everyone does it when they're trying to sell me a book at the indie romance book fair. Everybody does it, and I hate it. I'm going to be honest and vulnerable about my perfectionism. I keep almost deleting this video, and in order for it to ever see the light of day, I have to record the rest of it over here and not by the TV, because if I record it by the TV, the lighting is going to be messed up and the exposure is going to be off, and I can't fix it in editing because I simply do not have the capabilities. Feminine Pursuits by Olivia Waite. First book in this series, which was the first book I read, thank you library, is The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. Main characters, Lucy and Catherine. Okay, the plot of this book. Lucy, I think she's 25-ish, maybe. She is in a situationship with her BFF. A sapphic situationship. But her BFF gets married to a man. So Lucy's heartbroken. She is an astronomer. Obviously, she studies the stars. She's working on some kind of translation of an astronomy book. She has been in correspondence with this guy, and his wife is... My broken brain decided in this moment that Catherine's name was Charlotte, and for the rest of this video, Catherine is named Charlotte. Charlotte, who is a... Why are all the women in the sapphic books named Charlotte? Gay-ass name, I guess.
Charlotte.
Who is 35. likes embroidery. Charlotte's a widow. Charlotte agrees to sponsor Lucy. So she's going to do astronomy and do this translation of this astronomy book and live in Charlotte's house. And Charlotte, because she's a widow and she's got money, she's going to like fund this research and stuff. And she puts her in a connection with some science guys who her husband knew because her husband was science guy. They're all, sexist, like no science. Ladies can't do science. Ladies can't do astronomy translation. So Lucy's just kind of working on this science astronomy translation on her own. But Charlotte and Lucy, kind of weird because there is a big age gap, a decade. Charlotte has never been with a woman. Lucy has. Lucy's the younger one. Charlotte's been with 2 men, I think. I think she had a lover after her husband, and then he asked her to marry her, and she was like, "Ooh, I don't want to be married again." Because her husband was a little bit abusive, a little bit not so nice. And he was sort of doing like non-consensual doming with her, and she didn't like it. Some things that I wrote down about this book. Lady astronomy, she doesn't like husband. Why is the maid brown? Consequence of pursuit of science. 2-0 just fingers, it's a straight problem. So Lucy and Charlotte strike up a little relationship very, very quickly. They start to bang. It was kind of spicy, but I didn't like the words. It got dommy, but this time Charlotte liked it. Essentially dommy, and they were having a fun time. Multiple O's.
They're coming. Yeah, we do that a lot.
The household kind of knows about it. Like they're kind of trying to keep it a secret, but it's not really working. The maids keep walking in. Lucy's doing astronomy science. Charlotte has a bunch of dresses made for Lucy that sound atrociously ugly. I'm so sorry. Like abstract, like space dress, ocean dress. My 19th century material culture heart was very happy about the sampler representation. At some point they go to a printer's to get the astronomy book published. Charlotte makes this sampler book, and the details with the printing and the embroidery was very exciting to me. I liked that. The sampler designs in her book of embroidery are inspired by her travels with her husband. So it's like hibiscus flowers and shells. Charlotte got her groove back by dating a 25-year-old. I don't know. There's some drama with the science. So there's the science. Lucy has a brother who reveals that she was the author of this translation, and then it discredits her because she's a woman. Because Lucy's dad's dead. That's who used to let her do astronomy. Her brother doesn't want her to do astronomy. That's why he published that thing. Her brother's a painter. She has a gay best friend painter. The brother exposed her as the author. Weirdo brother behavior because he wants her to get married, I think. And she's like, "I don't need to get married. I have a sponsor. It's Charlotte." And he's like, "You can't do that forever because nobody knows that they're smooching." Charlotte and Lucy get in a fight about something. Don't really remember what, but it's a stupid fight because they make up the next chapter. And did I write down any recurring characteristics? Age gap, forced conflict, learning to be loved. Don't remember who's learning to be loved. Interesting age gap, interesting power dynamic. It gets addressed a little bit. I think it's part of the forced conflict, but I don't remember, so it can't have been that interesting. It's revealed that the author of the book that Lucy's been translating was a woman. So, women can do astronomy and be gay and wear really ugly sounding dresses. Second book, The Care and Feeding of Waspish Widows. Agatha and Penelope. One of them has a son and runs a printing shop. The other one is a beekeeper. She's beekeeping age. I don't remember anything in this book. Printing business, single mom, beekeeping, wooden dildo. He's at home is what they called it in the book. And I Googled it and I was like, how legit is this? And there's an article where this old lady unwraps her wooden dildo, and it's an excellent read. I didn't even do a recurring characteristic slide. That's how interested I was in this book. I think we're learning to love again after being widowed. And the beekeeping one is sort of a little mask. These covers are horrendous. Maybe it was the covers that was pissing me off, but I didn't like it. They have some forced conflict. They learn that maybe they can be gay and in love, and then they are together. The third book, The Hellion's Waltz, and I tapped out. I didn't read this book. I couldn't take another one, okay? I read 2 of them, and it was too much. I read the words, he's at home, and instead of being like, hell yeah, slay, I was like, I want to leave. So I left, because I do this for fun. I don't have to read The Hellion's Waltz, so I didn't. read all those, and then I was like, okay, well, I gotta read one with the men. Just for a comparison, Secret Lives of Country Gentlemen by K.J. Charles. And up until I made this slide, I thought K.J. Charles was a man. I'm sorry, K.J. Charles is not a man. She's a woman. Makes me see this book through a whole different lens. I guess women love to write MLM romance, so I actually kind of liked this book. Gareth and Joss, they call each other Kent and London, and they have been hooking up, we learn at the start of this book, in this little inn. For some reason, I was imagining the bar from Tangled. Actually, I think in my brain, this whole book was set in the Tangled universe. I'm not too sure why. Hooking up, having a great time. But they don't know each other's real names. That's why they call each other Kent and London. And they don't know anything about each other. Joss asks Gareth, when can I see you again? And Gareth's like, actually, you can't. I think he thinks that Joss doesn't actually mean it and doesn't want to see him again because he's silly. But then he gets a letter that his dad died. And he has now inherited this big estate in a swamp. And him and his dad didn't get along. His dad had him with this lady and then sent off Gareth because he didn't like him. And then he married that lady's sister and had a daughter with her. So Gareth shows up at this estate in the swamp. Him and his aunt / stepmom are on okay terms, but his sister, they like kind of don't really get along because she's like, why couldn't she be the heir? Because they actually spent more time with the dad. I'm sounding really fed up. But I'm not. I enjoyed this one. It was cute. Gareth's a little bit of a nerd. He likes to walk around the swamp and look at bugs. His dad did a lot of nature exploring and he is trying to connect with his dad, but he also just likes beetles. Gareth learns from, I think, his stepmom aunt that the swamp is part of a smuggling scheme. So there are smugglers who will leave them gifts of tea and alcohol and other things that are nice in exchange pretty much for just like shutting up. But there are some people who aren't in on the smuggling and they want to stop the smuggling. And one of those people is the sister's fiance. Gareth one evening witnesses a smuggling and he's like, that chick was the smuggling. He reports her to the police. He gets a note being like, hey, don't do that from the smugglers. And he's like, I'm still gonna do it. And he goes to court to report. In walks Kent. And it turns out, Joss Doomsday is the smuggler guy who was telling me don't do that. And if I admit right now that that girl was smuggling, that girl's Joss's sister, by the way, I'm going to get in trouble because Joss is going to tell everyone that I'm gay. And as you know, in 19th century England, it was illegal for men to be gay. You'd get put in jail. # free Oscar Wilde. Women don't feel anything like that, so you can't be gay, actually. Okay, the notes I wrote down for this book: arsehole, wife dies, sister mistress, half sister, no money, girth money. Both big bros, nature boy, bugs, Frankenstein, beetle clip. We don't get dual POV until the reveal in chapter 4. When it's revealed that Joss is Kent, we suddenly get Joss POV. Joss and Gareth fight because Joss is mad about when Gareth was like, no, we won't see each other again when they were hooking up. And Gareth is mad at Joss because he thinks that Joss was about to expose him for being gay. And he wants to do the right thing and report the smuggling because smuggling is wrong. There's also like gang warfare because there's the smugglers and then there's these other people who like are also maybe smuggling, but they're the other smugglers. I don't think they're the anti-smugglers, but they keep threatening everybody and like they beat up Gareth at some point. I don't really remember. Someone's gonna yell at me. They're gonna be like, why did you decide to do this? And then forget everything because you wrote really shitty notes. Joss keeps going up to Gareth, trying to make it better. Eventually, Gareth forgives Joss. You were just protecting your sister. I get that. I have a sister. I want to protect my sister. They bond a little bit about family problems, a little bit of racism happening. They have a bit of a social difference. Obviously, Gareth is now Sir Gareth because his dad. So Joss is like, oh, you know, you're so like, nobleman higher than me. And Gareth's like, actually, I was raised like pretty much by my uncle who hated me. Like I wasn't raised as a sir. I was raised as Gareth, who was like a solicitor or something. Everyone is a solicitor. They start smooching again because they like each other. Gareth takes Joss looking for newts because Joss doesn't believe that Gareth was looking for beetles when he was out near a smuggler's thing. And the smugglers are like, oh my God, Gareth is looking for a stash. And Gareth's like, no, I was looking for beetles. I love him. They go look for newts and then they end up banging. Now, I'm very concerned that they didn't wash their hands after looking through the pond. There's someone gives somebody head on a log, and I don't understand. Were they straddling the log? Were they sitting on the log? Were they lying down on the log? This book does not go in the category of books that use anatomical terminology, because there are so many different words that KJ Charles uses for the word penis. I think probably the most was prick, words that I've never heard before in my life. It was a lot. I was like, okay, we can't just call a spade a spade. I don't know how spicy this was. I don't read a lot of MLM romance. It might have been spicy. I'm not sure. I read the end of this book and I can't recall any of it. It wasn't even that long ago because I had to reread it because I couldn't remember it. Still can't remember it. The smuggler people, who are the bad smugglers, are threatening Gareth. At some point his sister gets kidnapped. Gareth goes to get his sister. Gareth gets kidnapped. Joss has to go save Gareth. Oh no. I think the sister's fiance is somehow involved. 2 people get shot. Gareth's fine. Gareth gets rescued. Gareth and Joss are gonna live happily ever after in the swamp. Slay.
I'm making a note to you. Huge success.
My Bridgerton Rapid Thoughts. The drama was fun, but I didn't read any bodice rippers as a part of this, although all of the CITED books have a scene where a woman gets her bodice ripped by the man. And it's like, ooh, sexy, passionate. The Bridgerton books approach bodice ripper territory in that a lot of times during the first sex scene, the woman is like, oh, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. She's overcome by passion. Like, these men are really, really pressuring women to sleep with them. And then afterwards, they're a bit. Benedict is very weird after he sleeps with Sophie for the first time. And her, like, there's blood on the couch. It's a weird scene. I think that's why I liked the Hyacinth one. She kind of just, like, sleeps with that guy and is like, hell yeah, brother, let's go look up for gems. And he's like, what? But I think a lot of issues that people have with romance is because they take it so literally, when a lot of times you have to think psychologically or metaphorically. You can right now get on AO3 and find 100 synonyms for non-con in the tags, because the purpose of those situations is to create a power fantasy. It is to play out a power fantasy safely. It's fiction. It is not real. Just because somebody reads a scene with some non-con does not mean that they want that thing to happen to them in real life, obviously. That is taking cause and effect to a stupid extreme.
I like the Fast and Furious movies. Oh, should we go 150 on the freeway?
Bridgerton books being a little non-conny, it's for the same effect. It's because it is set in the Regency period. Women are supposed to say no, but it is a fantasy to be in that position, be overcome by a big, strong, powerful man, have a good time, allegedly, and still have that appearance of propriety because you said no and really want it to happen. You were overcome by lust and passion. I don't want to get on like a little rant about horror and romance. In my personal opinion, the people generally have an easier time understanding that horror is a safe space to play, to explore different aspects of humanity. Scary things, dark things. It is the conflicts within manifested as fears without. And for some reason, I think people have a harder time thinking about romance like that because it often functions the same way. It helps you understand yourself, understand the world. It'd be really, really cheesy right now. I was going on a walk. It's sunny, warm, there's cherry blossoms. As I so often am, I was struck by how much I love the world. The fact that we, as little weird 2 evolved monkeys, decided to write about the joy, the struggles of romantic love. Like, that's just so delightful to me. Even though I'm someone who spends 95% of my time in the void.
We love the void.
And I don't mean to imply that I think reading is some sort of escape from the void.
We love the void.
Reducing any form of reading to escapism is, my favorite word, uninteresting. Reading does remind me, in the same sort of way as looking at the world, that there is good stuff, the vulnerability of hope. It can be that unserious and that deep all at the same time. I don't want to make any more grand statements than I maybe accidentally already have. Maybe that's none of my business. Perhaps that's why romance is such a contentious topic, not just because the world hates women, but because it is like so earnest. It kind of feels like sometimes that knee-jerk response comes out of like, it's lame to rejoice in feeling. Welcome to Judging a Book by Its Cover, where I judge these romance books by their covers. I mourn the loss of the windswept oil paintings with the barely clothed men and the women with heaving bosoms. Bring back art. Okay, Girl Meets Duke. Now these are pretty bad because to me everybody looks exactly the same and they all looked very different in the books. But this is all just like Chad and Jennifer. I guess their dresses are kind of different. But like that's not Alex. Oh, how come Ash like isn't disfigured? These could have got so campy. I guess I like the color scheme for each one. We have turquoise, yellow, purple, and then the one that isn't released is kind of like a blue. Which is the least bad? They're all bad. In my opinion, worst one, Wallflower Wager. He looks like Christian Grey. I just don't like that they're glowing. You know what the best one is? The unreleased one. I like the font. The font's nice and swirly. But imagine these if they were
oil paintings.
Courtney Milan. All right, now I kind of love these covers, but also I hate them. Again, we have a color scheme. We also have a swirly script, much like the Tessa Dare books. What is up with the guy who's supposed to be Andrew? He looks like he's 40, and I know for a fact Andrew was like 21.
I want a sexy oil painting version of the Courtney Milan books.
Can someone do it for me? I liked these so much, and that would just be beautiful and perfect. I like them better than the Tessa Dare because we're outside. There is sunset, there's pink, blue, purple, and there is like green rolling hills. Beautiful. Kai has long flowing hair. I guess that's accurate too. I like apparently who is Lily. I like the pink dress, but Lily doesn't really wear dresses. Lily wears pants. Okay, number one's the Duke Who Didn't. Like, yes, the dress on the girl is giving Party City, but I enjoy the unbuttoned man shirt. You can see ab. See, now I like the color palette of the Earl Who Isn't better than the cover of the Marquis Who Mustn't, but the guy, they just look so old that I don't know if I can give it to them. No, I'm gonna do it. My least favorite cover is the Marquis Who Mustn't. That feels correct in my soul. The Beverly Jenkins ones. The fact that they have scenery behind them makes them better, in my opinion, than the Tessa Dare ones, which are just like blurry house. There's a horse in the back of Wild Rain. Horse Mountain Sunset, that is reminding me of the good times. Wild Rain would be number one if their clothes weren't so atrocious. I love that the men are, like, their shirts are in the process of coming off on these covers. His shirt's on, then his, like, half the shoulder, and then his shirt is fully off. That's the progression. Always the girl's got a shoulder out. Okay, I'm giving number one, I'm giving it to Rebel. Because it's got a tree, she has a dress, he got a lot of abs out. Unbuttoned shirt. And then, like, To Catch a Raven is we're too far in Party City. But I like that she got some leg out. It's very Raven of her. Wild Rain, I like the horse, but is that... Their outfits are just so bad. Worst one is To Catch a Raven. No, worst one is Wild Rain. I'm sorry to the horse and the mountains. The outfits are too terrible. Now, we know how much I dislike these covers. Atrocious. Avon, you know what you've done. I don't even like the font. The font is disgusting. Can't even see them on the first one because they're the same color as the background. The third's the best. Why are they gripping each other like that though? I got questions. The worst one is the second cover. Party City ass covers.
Give me
a beautiful oil painting. Woola historical romance that's actually good, please. For the love of God.
Make them raunchy, make them feral, make them hungry.
Okay, I actually like the cover of The Secret Lives of Country Gentlemen, but I can tell that it is trying to be, it's like, I'm not like those historical romance books. I'm good. And it's like, come on. You can't come to the party if you don't play ball. Because why aren't there two men in unbuttoned shirts on, like, in a swamp?
The hair blowing in the wind.
all oiled up, grabbing each other.
This is giving like red, white, and royal blue shit. Give the people what they want. The Bridgerton books have been through a lot over the years. They are now in their real human era. We know how I feel about it.
I hate it.
Let me show you my favorite version of the Bridgerton covers. Now, these are the actual covers of the books. Kind of a little bit boring. But then you open them up, and inside they look like this. And this is what I want. Give it to me. Muscly, undone clothes in the moonlight. This is what the people want. Publishing, bring it back. If I could paper my house in historical romance covers, I would. Like any genre, you cannot and should not say all romance is feminist. That is a sweeping, unsubstantiated claim about a wide range of books written by people from all ideological backgrounds for varying reasons. Women are the primary producers, consumers, distributors of romance. That alone doesn't make it feminist. Likewise, you should not say that all romance is oppressive, upholding the patriarchy, contributing to the insmuttification of society. And that isn't to say that it can't just be smutty, because yeah, sometimes you seek out the book just for the smuttiness. There will always be something that people point to with books to say, that is why people are stupid. That's why people have no attention span. That right there, it's dumb. And it's making everything godless. There will literally always be this voice. And I don't have a solution to that. Like, there's no making it go away. Romance has, and probably always will, receive the brunt of public derision. And it's so hard to not just be like, yeah, it's misogyny. It is so much more complicated than that, as I think I have made clear. It literally does not matter how good the prose is, how serious the subject matter. It would never make anybody take the genre seriously enough that they can look past that voice and be like, you know what? Maybe actually the Wuthering Heights movie was trash because the studio saw that people like to read smut. We've got sicko Emerald Fennel ready to whitewash Heathcliff. Let's strip it of everything that makes it interesting. Just maybe. There are other factors at play here. All the romance books on Book Talk that get their own little tables at bookstores now, and people get pissed about it because they're like, these aren't even good. Maybe, just maybe, we need to take a deep breath and consider how long people have been reading books. And how many freaking times people have had versions of this argument. And I wish it could just be as simple as, like, let us read books in peace. But it can't be that simple, because all books are political. Something like romance that is so interested in socio-cultural issues as well as sexy time, that is going to be something that people are confused by. But you know what? I'm not going to talk about it anymore. It's time that we analyze the data. I was taking, as you know, very thoughtful notes and also putting together some slides. What were the recurring characteristics that kept popping up that I kept noticing? She's either pregnant in the epilogue, she's just had kids, or she's like, let's have another kid or something. Like, there's pregnancy in there. They weren't pregnant in the gay ones, but I bet if they could, they would. I've been trying to figure out how to work this in naturally, and I don't think there's a way, so I'm just going to say it. We're getting Sapphic Bridgerton season. I'm so excited. And also... I'm not gonna be okay. I'm gonna be feral in a way you've never seen. We've had an excellent infertility arc. Let us have it. You know how many times you guys get to get them pregnant? And Michaela would invent IVF if she could. Whatever. We've had the infertility arc. We've had the trauma. Okay, we can get to the pinnacles now. And the love and the self-acceptance. What the fuck was I talking about? Recurring characteristics. There's a lot of punching a guy in the face. Almost all the women were in some flavor a strong, independent woman. There was probably an even ratio of slutty men to simp men. Not to say you can't be a simpy slut. Sometimes they were just like down bad, and I've recently learned the term boy failure, and it's become so handy because I liked all the men that were boy failures. In Bridgerton, there was a lot of rakish men, virginal women, but then the more books I read, we got away from that. There were women who knew what they liked, knew what they wanted, And there were partners who were encouraging of that. All of these books are dual POV. I think it's because, no, we don't need to get into why.
2 seconds later.
It's the same reason you don't really need to read them chronologically. You can get to understanding characters' feelings and motivations faster if you're in both of their heads. So for this kind of book that someone might buy at the grocery store and then read in the bathtub, like, yeah, it makes sense to have dual POV. That's probably very obvious to everybody. Sorry. Most, if not all of the sex scenes were focalized through the men. And the first couple times this happened, Julia Quinn and Tessa Dare, I was like, oh, this is some kind of like cool power fantasy happening here. Lady authors in a dude's POV. Ooh, fun, gender. And then it hit me. That might just be because being in man POV sexy. And it took me a little bit longer than I'd like to admit to realize that that could be a possibility. And you can do with that what you will. I mentioned that their core tenet is women's freedom. Beyond that, it was clear that the protagonists had to learn to love and accept themselves before they could truly be happy with another person. Let's do the arrival counter. I'm going to give it to you in averages because I think if I broke down how much each character arrives in each book, that might be too much even for me. And I have to wrap this up. Bridgerton. Average, once. Sometimes the woman will have two, but it's very rare. And usually, if it's her first time, she won't be arriving from penetration. Okay, sure, maybe we're doing this for realism, but we'll get to realism in a bit. It was also like sometimes the men just didn't seem to care to try and do that for the ladies. They're just a little bit self-involved at that point. Yeah. Same thing with Tessa Dare. The women, once. They are arriving once. There will be indications that maybe the sexy time continued after we finished reading it, but we didn't get to see that, so I'm not counting it. And this is the case for both Tessa Dare and Julia Quinn. If the woman arrives from any sort of foreplay, she's not doing both. What do you mean? There's a rich man who only gives women head because he doesn't want to give them babies. And he's making out with his pretend governess, timekeeper, astronomer, in the Tower of London. And in that situation, the lady arrives once. And at this point in my reading journey, my hypothesis was, okay, must be because they're straight. Maybe it's a fantasy to arrive once. Wearing fancy dresses, drinking tea, hot, damp men arriving once. And then I got to Courtney Milan, who pleasantly proved me wrong because the ladies are arriving multiple times. Average, the women are arriving twice. Sometimes the ladies' arrival is an event in itself. Also, I've been saving this for you. Chloe jorks her peanuts.
Peener jorked.
Up until that point, any indication that the ladies are jorking their peanuts was extra diegetic. There were men
Jorking.
But the women? No. Not until Chloe. And then I met Beverly Jenkins. And that's when the hypothesis completely disproved. It was not a straight people problem, the singular arrivals. It was a straight white people problem. Beverly Jenkins, they are arriving anyway, any time.
Hands going places that hands have never been. Tongues going in holes that just fill you with, hey, that's enough.
Whoa. No, there's the kiss, and then there's a little further, and then there's the full-on bang. And I'm talking multiple arrivals when they're in the little further stage. When they full-on bang, average 4. Somehow, it wasn't like when I'm reading Allie Hazelwood, and I'm doing the counter, and I'm like, okay, guys, this is fantastical. I believed it. I am shocked that there is not a Beverly Jenkins cinematic universe like there is Bridgerton. I know you guys like things set in America. Also, I think all these authors were American, which was weird. Anyway, I'm getting off of the arrivals. Olivia Waite. We know I didn't love those books. They were not really my cup of tea prose-wise. I found them annoying. One thing I can say about it, arrivals. KJ Charles, they're in a little different bracket, I think, than the conversations I'm having about the other books. Well, that was 3 hours of your life that you're never going to get back. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry this took a million years.
We love the void.